Free thought unchained.
On live. In that video, that's where I am. I'm there in the Midian desert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The mountain of El. Right there, mountain of El. We'll take a trip there, man.
Yeah, I've been to Israel. Last time I was in
Nah.
Israel was in 2017.
Okay, everybody, we're live. Free Thought Unchained, live debate, conversation with Captain Tazaryach. Captain Tazaryach is from the U.S., I'm sorry, the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana. He teaches the truth of the Bible and of God's chosen people. Captain, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on. I've seen a lot of your debates. I think that you're a proper debater, and you seem to get in a lot of conversations with people who are super emotional about things. And I want to applaud you on the way you hold space for their emotional, finding themselves.
Yeah, I want to thank, as I am Captain Tazaryach of
Yes,
ISUPK
sir.
under Commander General Yohana, I want to thank the generals that pretty much have trained me. Like the generals that I come up under, when I used to go and do debates and stuff like that, I always, and even still to this day, I would call my generals to get counsel how to deal with them. And a lot of it comes from patience, because what people don't realize is that you can learn a lot by letting somebody speak. Like the more you let somebody speak, it's going to reveal two things. It either reveal they have a skill set or they don't have a skill set. So like when I get in debates with people and they start ranting, I don't really have a problem with them ranting because I can pay attention even if they don't think I'm paying attention. And
Yeah.
so that's a skill set that the generals have honed and curated within me, and that's why I'm able to do the things that I do.
Yeah, the debate aspect of it is its own thing. The philosophy of debate and the
Hmm.
actual linguistic, like chess game of debate itself is a skill that you have to train, obviously, right?
Yes, you talk about as far as the information.
No, like the actual presentation of debate itself, like the actual chess game of debate, not just like the
Yeah,
back and forth intellectually. I'm
yeah.
talking about the actual terminologies and the linguistics of it.
Yeah, it starts with the title and everything, like from a title position. So like I don't just throw a title out there because let's say if the title is like I got an upcoming debate that says is Joseph the biological father according to biblical prophecy. Now, some people might want a title that said because we don't believe in the virgin birth, but we believe in a virgin birth, meaning we believe Mary was a virgin. We just don't believe that if a woman has sex, she stops being a virgin. So because of that, if you put was Christ born of a virgin in the title, and then I say I believe she was a virgin, I lose the debate.
Sure.
So even from the wording of the title of the battle to the intricacies of it, so I got to know what their angles are going to be, what my counters are going to be, what their
Yeah.
informations are going to. I have to be able to do all of that and be prepared for all of that before I can do anything.
You have to intellectually understand and still man a good majority of the foundation of their position to even
Right.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't really seen you into too many of those actual debates because again, people just start getting super emotional, man. It's an interesting they start really just like breaking apart.
Hmm.
And I don't
There's a
even
couple
see
I have of like organized. So like what you're referring to is like if just the two of us get on here and we just having a back and forth like that. But I've
sure.
had time debates, so to speak, where you have a two
Yes.
minute, 3 minute opening, 15-minute round. So I have done those debates as well.
Yeah, so on Free Thought Unchained, the concept is I'm gonna have one-on-one conversations with people with different perspectives, Abrahamic, the Abrahamic faith, as well as when I say like ancient history, I'm talking about collective ancient history, and not just like biblical or canonized text and
Right.
historical reference to the theology themselves. I'm talking about what was going on everywhere at the same time. For example, if one thing is canonized and another thing is not, does that make the thing that not because some superpower in charge of Rome told you it's valid or invalid, right? That's
Right.
highly irrelevant. And I think after this pandemic, people start to recognize that the conspiracy isn't. Sometimes the conspiracy is the approved narrative, right? By
Hmm.
design and by
Hmm.
actual, by actual linguistics. And yesterday I just interviewed a Christian scholar. His a very distinct perspective, and then I have you, and then I've got some rabbis, and then I've got some atheist philosophers and general philosophers, some New Age people, someone from the Satanic Church, all sorts of stuff. And then we're going to be putting the debates together in a proper, more scheduled format, and really just let things flow and fly. But the key, I think, to this is to be able to cultivate thinkers,
Mm-hmm.
to cultivate thinkers. You know, someone wants to make a declaration that the only way you're not going to burn in eternal hellfire is if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and Jesus is God, and accept the Trinity. It's like, well, then, light the proverbial fire, buddy, because it's not, for me, that's not going to work. But at the same time, for someone else, they reject the concept. Some people are going to try to say, oh, Jesus didn't even live, so it's going to
Right.
be amazing at the end of the day to be able to have these types of conversations and have thinkers, people who are at least scholarly, have done some due diligence and done the research. Someone didn't just stumble upon this concept 1 year ago, right?
Right.
That's the
I
world we
agree.
live in right now. People see some
Mm-hmm.
YouTube short, and then they go, "Oh my God!" And then they start trying to teach classes on it and charge people for lessons. But I want to, in this interview, I want to talk to you, kind of get your worldview, see where it formed. We'll talk about Hebrew Israelite concept, the
Mm-hmm.
idea, the history, the theology, the ideology, etc. Because in one way, we're talking about Hebrew. There's a big distinction that I think a lot of people don't understand, the difference between Hebrew as a tribe, Israel as a nation, as well as Judaism as a faith. I think people just wrap it all up in this concept of Jew. They don't really understand the difference or the variations between all of these. For example, Hebrew is a DNA, a blood, a patriarchal tribe. And if somebody today carries that DNA and they decide to be a Buddhist, they're a Hebrew Buddhist. It's highly irrelevant. The faith, although you may say the actual covenant supersedes any individualized perspective they have of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say we'd only uncover that on the day of judgment. So, and
Right.
until then. So tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, like where
Mm-hmm.
did you format? When at the beginning when we were talking, you strike me a lot when you were talking about giving honor and praise and respect to the generals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that taught you your worldview, and it reminds me a lot of uh, of the like Black Muslims. Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people I know, the perspective and how people um, awoken to a certain perspective. Usually, especially in like Black American culture, it was through the hip hop culture, was through Islam, right? Nation of Islam, for example.
Right. Nation of Islam is extremely popular amongst hip hop and stuff like that because a lot of black people resonated with Muslims, especially from the '60s. Panthers come out of that. Even in some sets, you could say gang culture
Sure.
comes out of that. And what I mean by that, not that Muslims started any gang culture, but a lot of the gangs that originated come from a Muslim type of environment. Because Islam, I think, if you go all the way back to Fard Muhammad, who's a white man, actually, but when you go back there, you're talking about the 30s and 40s. So Islam goes a long way. Israelites, you can find the Israelite culture during slavery. If you look hard enough, I personally know some people that kept the culture. Like we have a brother in our school from Harriet Tubman's family, where they always kept the culture of being Israelites. But from a popularity, it didn't really start getting popular lightly in the early 1900s. You had your F.S. Cherries, you had your Rabbi Fords and Matthews. From my school specifically, you had Abba Bivens, Ariyah, Yaikwab, the ones that would found ISUPK in 1968. So the reason why Islam is that because Islam, is more popular from that position, from just existing. Of course, everybody think of Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm was such a
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali too, but more the reason why I say Malcolm first because Muhammad Ali is popular from a boxing position,
Mm,
and so him being such a famous boxer, him ascribing to Islam, especially at a time when he wanted to fight the war, put him
yeah.
in the spotlight. And then Malcolm being probably the most prominent figure in
in Islam.
Islam
Yeah,
to this date. And then,
yeah,
of course, you have your Elijah Muhammad, you have your Khalid Muhammad, but Malcolm is the one that everybody thinks about for the most part.
I would agree. I would say that Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali were two sides to the coin of Islam.
Mhm.
Muhammad Ali showcased the unjudgment, like the colorless aspect of the spirit of Islam, and then Malcolm X was showcasing more of like the intellectual and mission based.
What do
The
you mean by colorless? Because Muhammad was black too. Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't
well,
say
Muhammad Ali, well, the level of racism that happened during the time when Muhammad Ali became the champion, and then when he got his belt taken away, was there was still segregation, and he went from
Mhm.
being like the most hated. The
Right,
media framed him as like public enemy number one,
right. And
uh,
yeah, that's why when you said like a
but he
colorless
transcended that.
aspect,
No, but he
he
transcended
transcended
color.
acceptance of him despite his color. The reason why I say it like that is because Muhammad Ali was Cassius Clay,
Yeah,
switched to Muhammad Ali. He didn't want to fight no wars. And he told the white man, the Viet Congs ain't never did nothing to me.
yeah, never
And
called
so,
me.
yeah, they never called me nigga.
He's right.
Y'all call me nigga. I remember, like I use there's a metaphor that Ali uses when they was asking him about good white people, and he made the analogy that if he's at his house of his door, there's 1,000 snakes coming. 800 are non-poisonous, but 200 are poisonous. Does he take the time to let the 800 in, hoping that the 200 don't get in, or does he just shut the door and he shut the door? So Ali was definitely about the same color that Malcolm was about, but because Ali was such a great fighter, people accepted him, and that's the thing with white people. White people, yeah, I don't know if you ever saw this movie, Do the Right Thing, right? In the movie Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee is talking to this racist white Italian that he works for. And as he's talking to the racist white Italian, Spike Lee is saying to the racist white Italian, saying that you hate black people, but who's your favorite basketball player? It's Michael Jordan.
Uh,
Who's your favorite
yeah,
singer? Michael Jackson. Who's your favorite? And everybody was a black person.
yeah,
And even the white guy said, "No, at some point they're not black anymore. They're different." And so, that's how Ali was. Ali
yeah.
was, yeah. So it's not so much that
Got you.
Ali changed his color stance. He was just such a polarizing figure. It forced people to like him, even though they knew of his stance.
Yeah,
Even
he never
Malcolm
changed.
did
He
it.
never kissed anyone's ass. He came in.
Right.
He
That
kept the
that's
position
right.
the whole time. It's just
Exactly.
that when he was speaking truth to power, it was not popular, and everyone was falling for the media's narrative. And as the truth started to come out about the Vietnam War and it not being this righteous war, and then in fact we're coming in there and just killing innocent, pretty much just like Ali said, that the youth started to pay attention, realize that he was telling the truth. So what I meant about transcendent color was the idea that in Islam, for example, um, if you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim, right? So the Islam has been created and has had brown and black people in it, variations of dark shades since the inception.
Hmm.
Obviously being in Arabia, whereas
Right.
in today in Christianity, when you talk about like Esau or Jesus or Jesus, however you want to call it, Jesus. I mean, most likely the chances if he's not born in Nazareth, the most uh, probability is he was born in Syria or Jordan, right? Based off of which means he has darker skin. And the idea that Jesus is blonde hair or blue eyes, from Minnesota, look, that's all coming in through the 1500s, with the Borgia Pope having Da Vinci paint his son Cesare, who was considered the
Mm.
most good-looking guy in Europe. And so Cesare Borgia, who was also an archbishop, they painted him. He had the hair and everything. You could look it up, and that's the look of Jesus. So when you look at Cesare Borgia, that's how Jesus took that European look. Which the reason they were considered better looking is because they were actually of Spanish blood, and the Borgia Pope was the first pope that was not actually Roman. He was from Spain. So
Hmm.
even they had slightly darker skin, which was enough for them to say basically you're black, according to Rome at that time, and so you've got like the whitewash, so to speak, of Christianity, which came from Jesus, and then you have like the same thing with Judaism, right? If you ask the average person to say what does a Jewish person look like, they're going to say like a Netanyahu, and to me that looks like a Polish person.
Yeah, the people that claim to be Israel are not Israel at all. They could never be Israel.
What to me, to me, there's like a few things because that last comment probably people are going to catch feelings about that. I can explain a little bit better what that means. What I'm saying is not denying or questioning people's faith, nor
Hmm.
their spiritual heritage, so to speak. I am simply saying that if we're looking at Abraham, who was from Iraq, right? If we're looking at all of the, if we're looking at Ishmael, who was half Egyptian from his mother Hagar, if we're looking at Isaac, and we're looking at the entire lineage of the Abrahamic faiths for the first 1,000 years, there was not a single European involved in that move, right? There was no, it was all from, it was from Egypt. It was Canaan, which goes from
Hmm.
Egypt all the way to Iraq, right? That's Arabia, right? There were no Europeans involved for till much later, thousands of years later. The first time that Europeans had anything to do with any of these three monotheistic faiths of Abraham uh, was, during the pretty much 550 BC with the Babylonian invasion of Judea.
Hmm.
That's when the Judean tribes went all the way to Russia,
Okay.
over 1,000 years, and Christianity through Rome, which was 323 years later when it was canonized in Rome. So that, but if you calculate when Abraham was said to have lived, when Moses was said to have lived, 1500 BC, you're talking about 1700 years of Arabia. You know what I mean? We're not talking about, there's no one in France, So it's funny because now, if you look at the actual religions, Islam is looked at as like a brown religion and different, but yet, Judaism and Christianity is considered like a white religion. You agree, disagree?
Say that last part that you said.
Well, it's just, if you ask the majority of the world, like, what does a Christian look like? What does a Jew
Hmm.
look like? And what does a Muslim look like? The Muslim's going to be some dark, you know, Iraqi or Saudi looking guy, right? The
Hmm.
the Christian's going to be someone from the United States who's going to have like light brown hair and blue eyes, and then the Jew's going to look like whomever, I don't, whatever, but they're all going to not be like close aesthetically to the original bloodlines, the original peoples.
So when we look at Israel, right? Israel, there isn't a monolith on color in that position, meaning like you can have light skin, you can have dark skin. The one thing that the Israelites would not be is the Israelites would not be white. What I mean by white, meaning like the white Jew that says he's the Jew. He's not the Jew because he doesn't fit what is said about them. But like let's say if there's an Israelite when that Israelite that might look to us as a white person, or an Israelite that might look like a black person, we wouldn't accept them just because they said, "Hey, I'm an Israelite." You have to actually ethnically be one. So that's how we would look at it. So when you say what's a Christian today, a Christian could be anybody. Christian is not a.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, a Christian can be anyone by design of the religion, right? That's what Paul opened that up for, right? But
No,
I'm
Paul. No, Paul.
Paul.
Paul didn't open. First of all, Paul didn't teach Christianity.
He created Christianity in the way we know it
He
today.
did not create Christianity.
The canonized today Christianity I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the
He,
message of Jesus. Jesus said, I'm here to fulfill the prophecy, not change them. To fulfill the law, not
and
change them."
Paul didn't teach anything different than what Christ said.
Paul taught that Jesus was the incarnation of the Son of Man, and then later that created the concept of the Trinity.
When you say incarnation of the Son of Man, what does that mean?
When Paul was talking about Jesus as divine and bringing in these divine natures and the connections to the Almighty, that's all
You
Paul.
need to.
That's
I
Paulian.
need you to tell me what you're talking about because I have, like, for example, in First Corinthians 8 and 6,
Mm.
Paul says, "But to us there is one God, the Father, and then one Lord Jesus Christ." That Lord is the same way Abraham would be called Lord. So I haven't seen nowhere where Paul has put Christ in any type of position like that.
The only thing that was referred to as the Lord was God Almighty
In
at the
First
time.
Peter's the third chapter, Peter wrote that Sarah called Abraham Lord.
Yeah, but that's hearsay.
That's
Peter
not hearsay. Okay, I'll go
Abraham.
even further. In Psalms 1,
Abraham called God the Lord.
no problem. Because the word, see, like we look at the word Lord and we don't understand that there's two different types.
Mm.
You have a Lord that's Yahweh or the Most High, you may say Jehovah, then you have a Lord that's Adawan or Sir or Master. So a
Oh, I understand
man,
what you're saying. I understand
right,
what you're saying.
right.
Like
So when they talk,
master, Lord. Yeah, I understand. You're talking about
right,
titles.
so even though the
Got
word
it.
Lord is used, like in Psalms 110 and 1, when David said, "The Lord said unto my Lord," you hear Christ in the New Testament when Christ asked them in Matthew the 22nd chapter, he says, Christ, whose son is he? They said, David's son. He said, well, if he's David's son, why did he in spirit call him Lord? And he's referencing Psalms 110.
Mhm.
So in Psalms 110, it says, the Lord said unto my Lord. So the Lord is just a title. It doesn't mean that it's making reference to the Most High. So that's why I say, like, Paul didn't create Christianity or the Trinity or anything like that. What Christians did was come in and mix their paganism and just take this word Lord and think because we didn't have access to the Bible or understanding of the Bible. And what I mean by that, there was a time where there was a control over the Bible and how we received it. And so we received it as Trinity. We received it as Christianity,
We
but
were
that's
saying,
not in the
well, real
Bible.
quick, Bible. You're talking about the Gospels of the New Testament. We're talking about the 5 books of Moses.
When I say Bible, I'm always talking about Genesis to Revelations.
Okay.
Now, if you want to break it in two, you have Torah, which is, excuse me, break it in a few. You have the
Yeah.
Torah, which is the first 5 books, the
Yeah.
Tanakh, you have the Apocrypha, then you have the New Testament.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
depending
because
on how you break it down.
yeah, I think it's a yeah. If we let's go a little more specific with people because everyone says the Bible said this, no, the Bible said that. Well, both distinct books that people are referencing did say those things, and everyone's using the word Bible. That's why
Mm-hmm.
it gets a little tricky. Let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back a little bit before because Paul and the disciples and the apostles that's kind of recent history, right? I mean, as far
When
as
you say recent history, what do you mean by that?
in comparison to the origin of the story, right? From Abram becoming Abraham, if we're talking about like those original concept, the original covenant, we're talking like we're
Yeah,
skipping
I
Moses.
don't have a problem going back there, but they had they didn't have a New Testament during the New Testament. It's almost like when Isaiah is Isaiah, they don't have a book of Isaiah. They
Yeah,
only have the books before Isaiah. So they had the records. And before we go to Abraham in Romans 15 and 4, Paul said, whatsoever was written aforetime was written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures, we might have hope. And a lot of times when Paul would say something, he would tell you where he's getting it from. He's getting it from Isaiah, he's getting it from Hosea, he's getting it from Deuteronomy. So he would tell you where he's getting it from. So they had the Old Testament records. So we can't say that they didn't. So like when I mentioned about Peter, that's not hearsay what he said about Sarah because he mentioned it. But we can start with Abraham. I'm fine with that.
yeah. Oh, no, I'm not trying to escape something. I'm just more of wanting to take people on a chronological journey.
Yeah, I know. No, I
It's
don't.
a lot.
If you took it that way, I
No,
ain't
no,
not
no.
yet. You ain't said nothing really crazy yet for me to say that yet.
Well, just wait. We just started talking. I got some great.
Yeah, I know. We just started.
I
So
got stuff ready. I can throw things from all over the. It's all free thought unchained. It's all about being
mhm.
able to throw different perspectives. I think a
And before
truly
and if I could, before we go
yeah, brother.
forward, they're telling me, so I'm streaming this on my side.
Good,
And so they're telling me that there's a echo, not when I'm talking, but when you talking.
interesting. Let me look real quick.
And it wasn't when we first started. So I turned my mic, I turned my echo cancellation, my reduce my
Let me
noise
do that right now.
background. So they were saying that there was an echo.
Let me check right now, Mike. Let me check right now.
Oh, I think I know what it might be. Let me see something here.
Hopefully, I got this fixed now. How about now? Now.
Gotta say something again.
Hello, hello,
Speak again.
hello, hello.
Oh, I think I know what it might be. Yeah, I know. I think I know what it is. I know what it
Okay,
is. Okay. I think it might be me. I think I have
it's replaying.
on my side. Yeah, on my side, it's coming out of. I think it should be fine. Can you speak now?
Yes, yes. Hello.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I think it should be fine. Can you speak? Do it
Microphone. Microphone.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, cool.
It was my fault. My on one of my computer settings, it had switched from my mixer to the speaker, so it was coming out of the speaker. I just didn't know because I had the headphones on. So that's
No
my fault.
problem.
I apologize. All
It's
right, so
okay.
let's get back to it.
Yeah.
I
So
apologize to my chat and to your chat if there was an echo. My bad.
no, I think everyone's patient, right? So
Yeah, they tough, right?
I hope. If I mean, it's all part of a process, right? You got to condition the shins.
That's right.
So when we're talking about the concept of Israel and we're talking about Hebrew, right? What to you? What is Israel?
Okay, so Israel is a nation.
Okay.
Israel is a nation first, started by Jacob. Jacob is the first Israelite. He would
Okay.
be He's born Jacob, and then when he makes the covenant with the Lord, his name is wrestles with the angel. He
Mm.
then gets his name changed to Jacob. To Israel, and then
One who
from
wrestles
there,
with God.
right,
Yep.
which Israel means prince of the power. Yasha, we would say Yasha Allah in the Hebrew, um, and so from there, you have the sons of Israel, and technically Ephraim and Manasseh are grandsons of Israel because they come from Joseph. And then so they would create the nation of Israel.
No, but they were adopted. They were adopted by Isaac at the end. He adopted them, so
You
they
mean by
became children.
Jacob? They
By
was
Jacob, I'm
adopted by
sorry.
Jacob. No,
By
yeah,
Jacob.
yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm just saying it, well, even if they wasn't, they still would be Israel. I'm only saying it like that because they
Blood
weren't
and title.
technically right. They weren't
Yeah,
technical sons, they were
got
grandsons
it.
like that.
Lineage is one, and then one is inheritance, so to speak.
Right. And so they would become so then they go into Egypt. When we come out of Egypt, a great nation, and then we establish after we unalive all the Canaanites, we establish the land of Israel
Mm,
that will become the land of Israel. And then from there, we had a governing body for a while, but that would be Israel to me.
got it. And so that's Israel. But Israel also is a covenant, correct? Like a
When
spiritual
you say
covenant.
Israel is a covenant, what do you mean? Israel made it. Well, the first covenant is Abraham. Abraham made the covenant with God
Yeah.
first. And so it went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. And then Jacob made that covenant. And then when we came out of Egypt, we made a covenant. So it's a lot of, even when we use the term Old Testament, New Testament, there's different covenants that were done within
Throughout.
the Old Testament.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
exactly. So I would say Abraham had a covenant, Isaac had a covenant, then there was covenants that Moses made up until the completion of creating the state of Israel. So
And that covenant,
Israel,
that covenant with Moses would be the one with the people with the book and the people with the land. That's that
hmm
third covenant,
hmm
right? Where the
hmm
book is tied into the people, is tied into the land. That
right.
the
It was tied
complete.
into the people and the land and
Yeah,
the temple, all belonging to the ethnic Israelites. The reason why I say it like
got it.
that is because you can't be a foreigner and inherit Israel. You would always be a foreigner that would be subjected to Israelites. You would never
Yeah.
be over Israelites.
And so where does Hebrew come in? Like Hebrew, not the language, like the
Hebrew, I think
DNA.
Genesis the 10th chapter, when you see a man by the name of Eber, he would be so in Genesis 10. Where is he? I'm just trying to see. Is it Genesis 10? It could be 11. I just want to make sure. Yeah. So in Genesis 10 and 24, you see that Aphaxad begat Salah and Salah begat Eber. When you look up that word Eber there, that's Ibar or Hebrew.
Mhm.
And that's where you get the Hebrew from, or the term Hebrew.
And so, in your perspective, were all the Semites Hebrew? Is that interchangeable or semi-interchangeable? Like all the Semitic tribes
No, and
collective.
I'm yeah, all the Shemitic tribes are not Hebrews.
Mhm. Yeah. So, like for
I wouldn't
example,
say that because
in
the only person yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little delay.
No, I'm sorry. So I wouldn't say that all of the Hebrews are Shemitic because like Ishmael, I won't say Ishmael yet. The other
Yeah. Yeah.
people that him because we'll get to Ishmael in a second.
Exactly.
But the other people that came out of Shem created their own nations out of Shem. So
Mhm.
Eber is where you get Peleg. and then from Peleg you get all the way down to Abraham's father, and then from there that's how we start establishing. So Abraham is the only one that's called a Hebrew in the Bible. I don't know of anybody else that's called a Hebrew in the Bible that's not an Israelite.
Yeah.
So I would say Hebrew only belongs to those that come from Abraham.
Okay. And at that time, pre Kingdom of Israel, you have the land of Canaan, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we have
Yes.
Canaan, which is what they're taught when they talk today about Greater Israel. They're talking about the land of Canaan, which goes from a portion of Egypt all the way up through the Levant, through what we know today as Lebanon, over through Syria,
Mm-hmm.
a portion of modern day Iraq, right?
Right.
All the way down
Mm-hmm.
through Jordan, which is a big piece of land, which Canaan, which they're calling Greater Israel. River to the sea concept is Canaan, right? And with
Right.
and within Canaan, all of these various kingdoms, which were really just tribes, those were all Semitic peoples, right?
Mm-hmm.
These were all Semitic people were speaking various Semitic languages and various gods and so on, right?
Okay.
Right. And so have you heard of the Ugaritic text?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on them.
No, it's nothing to me. It's nothing ultra controversial. It's basically just some text that they found in modern day Syria that was in the language of Ugaritic,
Mm-hmm.
which was just a Semitic tribe in modern day Syria, on the line of they were in Syria, but also just around the area. Right, those lines don't necessarily matter right now. But and they basically described post flood. They said that the Elohim, there were 70 Elohim assigned to 70 tribes and to 70 peoples for 70 lands, and that made up the land of Canaan. And then they listed the various Elohim in there, and I find it
So
interesting because, huh?
and so with these Elohim, what are these gods that are over Canaan? Is that what they're saying?
Well, I mean the original concept of Elohim is the pearl the plural it's a plural word that means gods, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't mean that they were the most high. They were just more of like, I don't know, it's hard to say what they actually were, because when you see Abram before he became Abraham, he asked who is revealing himself, and he said El Shaddai, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
you fast forward to Moses, and Moses is speaking directly with Yud He Vav He, which is, there's no way of actually pronouncing that.
We would
uh,
say Yahweh. That's how we pronounce it.
yeah, there's a bunch. If Jews won't say the name either,
Yeah, they have this weird term. Well, first I like to say, you probably
Go ahead.
won't say this, but I'll say it.
We'll see what I
So-called
say.
Jews.
We'll see.
Yeah, we say so-called Jews. That's what we say.
Oh, yeah,
And
I'm not gonna say
they
that. I have a terminology, but I think I'm gonna give you something special, Captain, tonight for
okay.
that.
So
I'm
we
gonna
would say we would say they say the term Hashem is a term that they
sure
use.
the name.
The name, right? Which is weird. But see, like so-called Jews, though, they do a lot of stuff that's not in the actual Bible. The way they circumcise is not in the Torah. Um, the way they keep certain customs is not in the Torah. So
When you say
I
the way they circumcise, you mean the eighth day, or the
no,
way, like the
the
ceremony or
way they
something?
suck the penis.
Oh, that's brother. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I'm Pashtun. I'm Pashtun. You know what that is?
You know they was giving little babies herpes out here in New York City.
I saw that a month ago. Someone sent that to me. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn." Yeah.
And I
Where
ain't
are you
never
in New
seen
York?
nowhere in the Bible.
Where are you
Yeah.
in New York?
Well, I live in New Jersey. I teach in New
Okay.
York, and
Okay.
I actually debated this brother. He decided to convert to Judaism, and I asked him would he let them suck the penis. He said, "Yeah, ain't
Well,
nobody sucking my penis or my kid's penis."
men wise, no men.
Yeah, but it's the rabbis,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you think about the rabbis is giving these kids herpes.
Yeah, that's a completely suspect activity to me. Not the
Pedophile
circumcision,
almost.
not that, well, not almost. In not almost that. I'm completely off on that. If I ever saw anybody come after one of my sons like that,
Right.
I'm gonna have a problem.
Real talk. And that's
You
what I
know,
mean when I say but they will look for something in what they have as the Talmud as the justification for it.
Well, we're gonna get into Talmud too, because that book to me, it's interesting about Talmud because you can find anything that says you're allowed to do anything and not anything
Yeah,
at the same time. So,
yeah.
and that was beyond
You
written
could
by
be
the
with
hand of
underage
man.
girls in the Talmud.
You
Look
mean
at
Yavamot 11b?
yeah. See, look, you know it. Look, he pulled it up. Did he pull it up?
That's I got somewhere. Here, what's that? Mazitza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Mazitza Bape, I
Yeah, but
believe.
here's the
Mhm.
problem. Here's the problem with that. Back in the day when you were in the middle of the deserts and stuff, you would need to stop bleeding, right? That's one thing. Pause for a second. The other component of that is we know that the human saliva is more infectious than anything else.
Thank you.
So it doesn't make sense in any period of time that we
Right.
would use our own saliva. For example, if I have a cut and I lick it, I'm going to get it more infected
Yeah, you're
than.
not curing it.
No, I'm not. We 96% of all systemic diseases have an oral origin, and that's
Right.
not that's not like a controversial statement. So,
Right.
to me,
And then
there's
the
no.
other thing, they go by your mother as being instead of your father.
Yeah, which was the covenant. So, but let me tap back onto that one
Okay,
thing real
yeah,
quick
okay, no
about
problem.
Hashem.
I'm gonna let you
Ha-
roll. See,
no,
I'll go all over,
no,
but I
no,
want
we're
you to
going. No,
follow
no,
your
we are, but
chronology. So
no,
go
no,
ahead and work your
we're good. No,
chronology.
no, we're gonna go to the why. The thing is that let me explain that Hashem. Hashem means the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
was that was developed in the late 17th century, like the late 1600s going into 1700s. And I'll tell you why that happened. Have you ever heard of a person named Shabbatai Tzvi?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so Shabbatai Tzvi was a man who, at the time, was in like let's say like the 1650s, moving forward. Sabbatai Tzvi, what is now today known as like one of the biggest false messiah heretics in the history of Judaism to the Jews.
Okay.
Sabbatai Tzvi was a man who rose up. They say, by the psychological analyzation of him today, they say he was like bipolar and schizophrenic, but he was like a mad genius, right? And he
So
would
he
have
wait. So let me see if he bipolar and
yeah,
schizophrenic,
yeah, he was like
but
a
he was a
mad genius.
genius.
But he memorized the Torah like A to Z, like no one could out scholar him, right? And so
But
he
he's
knew.
bipolar and schizophrenic.
That's what so the Jews like, why did this guy, why was he so crazy? And they realized, like, based off of all the record, there's a lot of writings about this guy, like he would just
Mm-hmm.
go into random visions and so on. And they analyzed and say the guy was basically like batshit crazy, but he was also a crazy genius, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
what happened was this guy declared himself the Messiah. And so he had
You don't say. So he's schizophrenic, bipolar, and he said he was the Messiah. You don't say.
no, he didn't. Yeah. Yeah. But listen, he didn't say he's the Messiah because the Mashiach's not allowed to say the Mashiach. But there was another guy who was
Mhm.
like a very well-respected rabbi who said this is the Messiah, right? And so he just
Oh, so
jumped
somebody else put that cloak on him.
and he wore it like Superman at the time. And he went on a big expedition. And the interesting part, this is all the Jews are not even allowed to say his name.
Mhm.
And what this guy did was he went like kind of on a tour of Europe, going towards at the time, Turkey, right? And this is in like the like 1670s, let's say. And he was converting and drawing people in, and it turns out that at the time of his height, they say some Jewish scholars say 50%, and some say 1 out of 5 Jewish people on earth believed he was the Messiah.
Mm.
People were selling their items everywhere in the world to make the pilgrimage to meet him in person. Like
Mhm.
this was like sold, right? And what happened was when he entered Constantinople and went before the Sultan, he went in for like 3-4 days, and he came out and he declared that he's Muslim, and there was this mass conversion of Jews
The
to
same guy
yeah, there was a
that's
mass
schizophrenic and bipolar
yeah, there was a
comes
mass
out as
conversion. Mendel,
Muslim.
pull up Sabbatai Tzvi. Yeah, there was a mass conversion. And what they say that at the height, like 50%, up to 50% of the Jews on earth believed that this guy was the Mashiach, right?
Mm.
And so, yeah, and then when he came out of in Istanbul and declared he's a Muslim, that threw everybody off. There he is.
Mm.
Oh, Nathan of Gaza was the respected rabbi
Mhm.
who proclaimed Sabbatai Tzvi as the Messiah. See, 1665, I said 1670. Okay.
Mm.
And so, but this was a very, 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 very big situation. Like people were literally selling everything and trying to go on foot and trying to get there. And he basically said, "Meet me in Constantinople." And by the time he went to Constantinople, he came out meeting the Sultan and basically declared he's a Muslim and this is the true faith. So it threw gigantic curveballs through the entire Jewish world, right? And
You
so
know why? Because a Messiah wouldn't change from Israel or being an Israelite to Muslim.
here's the thing. Well, I'm not a Messiah, so I don't know what I would
Would
and
you
would
do you
not,
stud- do you, would you say you follow Islam, or what is your background?
brother. I'm either the most religious person you know or the least religious, depends on what you call religion. I mean,
No, no, that's why I said background. I didn't use
oh,
religion.
my background. Oh,
Yeah,
so
like
I'm
would you say you're more like I would
uh
say I'm an Israelite. I wouldn't say I'm a religion at all because I
well,
just
I would
am.
say I'm Pashtun and my
What's that? What is Pashtun? I ain't
a
never heard of
Push
that.
Pashtun is the largest patriarchal tribe on earth. 56 million people that track ourselves through patriarchal lineage
And what do you
directly
believe
to
in? I mean,
well,
patriarchal lineage to what?
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Rachel. So we're
Are
my
you
last
saying
name.
you Israel?
I'm saying my DNA is Hebrew. I'm
Not
saying
Israelite?
that's the tricky part because the tribes of Joseph were in Samaria and really weren't.
Well, Joseph was an Israelite though.
Yeah, but kind of though. But if you really
How,
look at the
how could you
no, no,
be
I
kind
understand
of?
what you're saying. But if you look at the actual Israel kingdom and you look at Samaria and Judea, even though they were ruled simultaneously at the same time, there was always the back and forth. That's why all those other tribes left because it was all the
But even if
bullshit.
those tribes intermix with each other, they still would be Israel. Ephraim, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they're all
Manasseh, all
Israelites.
that.
Right. So
Yeah.
they would be all be Israelites. So even if you say Joseph, Joseph is an Israelite.
So Pashtun lineage basically says that in 728 BC, when the Assyrians invaded the northern
Based on
kingdom of
Second Kings
Samaria,
17, right?
huh?
Second Kings 17.
Yeah, in the
Mhm.
northern kingdom of Samaria, the tribes that left and the tribes of Benjamin and Joseph,
Right.
along with a few others, went east and hit a mountain called Solomon Mountain, which is the beginning of the Hindu Kush, and we stayed there till this day. So for 2,700 years, the Pashtun tribes, which are the Hebrew tribes, have never been conquered by anyone on earth. That's why the highest concentration of Hebrew DNA on earth is the Pashtun R1A1A
Well, I don't
M168 DNA.
well, I don't trust DNA. I've
We can
taken a
trust
DNA.
history.
Yeah, I trust history more
I,
than I trust DNA. Right?
so my last name Ahmad Zai is
Who?
because there was
Say your last
my
name
last
again.
name Ahmad Zai,
Hmm.
right? Ahmad Zai is that through the Arabic conversion of 1000 to
You
Islam.
said Arabic conversion.
No,
So
I'm sorry, not Arabic, Islamic conversion. So
well, you say y'all never been conquered. So how you have Islamic
no,
conversion?
because we weren't conquered. The Arabs conquered Persia and sent letters of invitation for over 60 years. We invited them in, and then we accepted Islam as the next deviation of the faith of Abraham. So
Okay, so then
so
I can call you a
Afghanistan
Muslim
never was
then.
conquered by Arabs. There's no such
So
thing.
so then I can call you a Muslim then.
No, because well, technically I can call you a Muslim because a Muslim is one who submits to the will of God, right? Every
Nah,
breath.
nah, nah, nah. You can't do that because Muslim is that's like when we
A
say
follower.
Hebrew, right? Hebrew is confined to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Islam
Mm,
is something that's confined to Muslims.
well,
I'm
it,
sorry, Muslim is confined to the Ishmaelites. No, like the definition. Now, when you talk about the definition, one who submits to God and stuff like
yeah,
that,
that's the spiritual aspect.
right? So
Yeah,
that anybody can submit to God, but that term Muslim is something that was created when Muhammad created Islam,
yeah. A Muslim would be one who adheres to the teachings in the Quran.
and that's what you do. Did you
No,
adhere to?
no,
Okay,
I'm Pashtun. I adhere to Pashtu Ali, which is the basic, in essence, the 10 Commandments of Noahide law. Is called Pashtu Ali. Look at Mendel.
I
Pull
know
up
I'm
Pashtu.
familiar with Noahide law, so you a Gentile.
No,
That that's what. See,
no, no, no.
them
I'm
Jewish
using
people.
English, brother. I'm just we're communicating in the Gentile language of English.
No, no.
No,
What I mean
I'm
by
not
that is when
British.
you bring up the Noahide laws is what the so-called Jew created
Yeah,
to keep non-Jewish people away
yeah.
from them.
Yeah, but we have no other way of describing it in English language. That's the problem. I don't know how else to describe those laws.
Yeah, I'm just an Israelite that
Yeah,
keep the commandments of God.
you're
That's
talking
me.
about. So you could keep the 613 mitzvot. Or we're talking. There we go. Look,
Let me
Pashtu
tell you.
Ali, traditional
Let me
ethic code and way of life to the Pashtun people native to Afghanistan, Pakistan. By the way, quick point. There's no such thing as Pakistan. Pakistan is an invisible line that was drawn by the British when they attempted 3 times to invade
I agree.
Afghanistan
Like
from
even the
fucking
Bible,
England.
in the Bible, Psalms 49 and
Yeah.
11, it says we've named lands after ourselves. So
Yeah. So
anybody can name a land. Afghanistan,
no,
Pakistan.
but my point is that what happened was when the British controlled India, they tried to invade Afghanistan 3 times in 100 years, right? And when they failed all 3 times, the third time they basically paid off certain tribes. That land today, since 1936, is called Pakistan. There's no such thing. It's still part of Afghanistan. We'll see in less than the next 5 years when we take that back over, we become the 5th largest
I'm
nuclear
gonna
superpower.
listen. The way you talk, I'm definitely gonna call you a Muslim.
No,
Just
well, hold on. First of all, you can't call me a Muslim because y- well, hold on. We're talking spiritually. Technically, we're all Muslim, right?
no,
You're
no,
asking me
no.
if you're talking
I'm
yes,
not a
we are.
Muslim. I'm not
No,
a
but yet
Muslim.
you're missing the ideology. A Muslim person would be a person who adheres to the faith of Islam in the Quran, right?
Hey, you
And,
know how? But I'm sorry.
no, a Muslim spiritually is one who the second our umbilical cord is cut, we become Muslim when we take our own first breath, right? So
Hmm.
spiritually, I accept the spiritual perspectives and teachings in all of the Abrahamic faiths. I don't
Hmm.
adhere to any of them. Zero. I
Hmm.
don't accept Muhammad as my savior, Jesus as my savior, nor Moses. So how can I be a Muslim, Jew, or a Christian when I reject the concept of a Messiah coming to save me? I don't believe in Santa Claus. So I can't be
Gotcha.
Muslim with that alone.
You know, when Abraham separated from his father, what was
Mhm.
the reason?
The ideal. Why did he separate? You mean why did he
Yeah,
leave
when
the Lord
Abraham left his father's house, why did he do that?
after he escaped the fire?
No, not the fire. Okay, I'll just say it for you. Abraham left his father's house because they worshiped many gods.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so he went and worshiped one God.
Yes,
There's
yes.
no such thing as Abrahamic faiths. That's what Muslims and Christians make up to join themselves to Abraham's God.
I have
That
to push back.
well, I'm gonna tell you because like
Okay.
Deuteronomy the 13th chapter says, if there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams and give it thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder doesn't come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, let's go after other gods which thou hast known, and let us serve them. So when you bring Islam into play, that's a different God. That's not the same God of Israel. It's a
So,
totally different God.
but
So
we both believe in Abraham.
now you don't believe in Abraham.
Why don't I believe in
Because
Abraham?
you just said you basically said you take some of Abraham, you take all 3 Abrahamic faiths is the
No, I
terminology
take the spiritual lessons. I said
of all 3, right?
yes, and
Right.
Buddhism and all sorts of stuff.
Abraham only had one faith.
Can
You
I
see?
push back?
Yeah, push back. Of course, push back. Show me
A,
the multiple faiths.
Abram or Avram became Avraham. Right? Why? When did this happen? When he was presented by El Shaddai and he changed his name from Avram to Avraham. How did this happen? One, he added the hey, which was the hey is the Shekhinah in the Hebrew. So the union of Avram to Avraham, Sarah to Sarai was the H, the hey in there, right? Yuv hey vav hey, masculine, feminine, right? But his name, Avraham, means father of nations, plural. And so, if you believe Abraham and the covenant that was created from El Shaddai, we have to accept the righteous lineage of all of his seeds. So that includes Ishmael, Isaac, and guess what? He had a wife, and they had 6 more sons after that.
Is
And
there a book, chapter, verse that shows me Abraham followed more than one God? That's what I asked you. I
no, I
didn't
didn't
ask
say
you about
more. I don't believe there's more than one God.
okay. So now
I don't believe there's
it
more than one God.
okay, no problem.
I believe there's one God, and the only word I like to describe this that seems the most for me is called Ahura Mazda, means the uncreated one.
So when it says Abraham is the father of many nations, right?
Yes.
Those nations are Israel. Those nations is not other people.
But
So in
Ishmael's
Genesis,
not Israel though.
say that one time.
Ishmael's not Israel, and he was the son of Abraham. That's
He's
undeniable.
not
So
the
how?
son of Abraham. But
What?
before I show he's
Okay,
not the
okay.
son of Abraham,
Tell me.
before I show he's not the son of Abraham, I'm gonna read this
Okay.
to you. This is Genesis 35 and 10 verses 10 and 11. I'm gonna show you the nations. It says, and God said unto him, thy name is Jacob, thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply, a nation and a company of
Yes,
nations
through
shall
that
be.
lineage. Yeah, through that exact lineage. Of
And
course.
this is the only lineage of Abraham. The scriptures say, in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So he had, I believe Abraham had 8 sons in total. I did like that.
Eight. Yeah, eight.
8,
You're right.
right? So he
You're
had 8
farther ahead, by the way, already than 90% of the people I talk to. They don't need. They say there's 2. I'm like, there's 8. The question is, where are those other 6? That's a good
Right,
question.
exactly. So he had 8 physical sons,
Yeah.
but God said he had 1 son, and God made that covenant with that 1 son. So when Ishmael comes and establishes Islam, that God is not the same God of of Isaac.
So
Want me to tell you how? Want me to tell you how
yeah,
simple it
of
is?
course, of course.
This is how simple it is. Do Muslims keep Passover?
No,
Did the God of Israel establish Passover?
100%.
So where does it say that the God of Israel changed his worship to what the God of the Quran says?
Nowhere.
That's how you know it's 2 different gods.
Nowhere. But here's what does Ishmael mean?
I know the L at the end would have something to do with power, but I
Ishmael.
don't.
God hears.
Right.
And do you
And
know?
God, listen, I'm glad you said that, because when you go to Genesis, what is it, 17 or 16? When Abraham says, oh, that Ishmael might live. Oh my God, can Ishmael live? So this is Genesis 17 and 18. It says, and Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. When Abraham is saying that, he's saying that because he knows that God is cutting Ishmael off. And so,
Nah. I don't think
yeah,
so.
that's that.
What
Listen, that's why
Genesis 21 verse 17?
we ain't get there yet. We in
Okay.
Genesis 17.
Okay.
Fair enough, right?
Okay. You're
Yeah,
right. We
fair
didn't get
enough.
there yet.
Right. So in Genesis 17, it says, and Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah, thy wife shall be a son, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with
Absolutely.
his seed after him. Verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful and multiply him, him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac. So
It's separate
Ishmael,
covenants. That to me, separate covenants. That to
no, it's only
me,
one covenant.
no, I don't
It-
think so.
You know
To
why?
me,
You know how you know it's one covenant?
tell me.
Because when he talks about Ishmael, he uses the word blessing, not covenant. He
But
gave
the
him.
blessing is the covenant. That the blessing is the covenant with God.
I understand why Arabs would say that, or Ishmaelites would say that. But the text clearly says, verse 21, but my covenant. So now the covenant that God had, he established him with Isaac. But the blessing, God blessed every nation on the planet.
God didn't bless
Who?
well, a lot of people. I mean,
Nah,
God
every
didn't.
nation got
Not
their land.
Amalek, not not the followers of Dagon, not the
No, he blessed them by
bless them with
allowing
death.
them to have their own land.
He didn't bless the children, the firstborn sons of Egypt.
What you mean?
We bless them with death. Passover.
No. See, that's the difference. He did bless Egypt because Egypt became great, but in their greatness, they were envious of the Israelites.
You know how
And
he
they
blessed Egypt?
started, you said what?
You know how he blessed Egypt?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how he blessed Egypt. He
How did he
blessed
bless
Egypt
Egypt?
by having Hagar give birth to Ishmael, which Ishmael is half Egyptian, and thus is the second covenant.
There's nowhere there's a second covenant though.
No, not second. I'm sorry. First, you could say.
There ain't no first covenant. You got to show you got to show
I-
me where Ishmael gets a covenant.
See, this is what I mean. Like, I guess maybe I'm just a purist, because to me,
Uh-huh.
where El Shaddai told Abraham, "You are Avram to Abraham, and your seeds will be blessed with nations." And Ishmael gave the Muhammad and the Muslims, and then Isaac through Isaac, then Jacob, and then the 12. And I look at them all in my worldview. I look at them all, and they're all confused as understand the one point.
Here's what I would say.
Maybe I'm a purist.
Well, we can't look at it from our eyes. We got to look at it from God's eyes.
God bless me
And
with the
so
eyes to
Ishmael would
see.
have if the Quran, let's say if the Quran established it like this. Let's say if the Quran came and still kept the Sabbath, still kept Passover, still kept Day of Atonement.
I agree with those points drastically.
If they would have kept the same worships of
I agree
the God
drastically.
of the Bible,
Drastically.
thank you. They would, even though I would probably still disagree with them because they're Ishmaelites.
You respect it
They would
different.
still be trying to keep the true laws of God.
I agree.
They would have a better argument. But once their God is totally separate, like our God says that we can only have a prophet of our people. Ishmael is not our people. So Muhammad is not our people. So he's not a prophet for us. He can be an excellent prophet for the Ishmaelites. He can do great things. He can establish whatever he wants for them. But as far as for the children of Israel, he's not our God.
What one could also say the reason why Ishmael didn't understand that is because the Sabbath and the what he was never taught that, and that was established later. You could say, but at the same time, you could also say that that at the time of Muhammad, it was clearly understood about the holy day, etc., and the Jewish law, for example. And then you could say, and by the way, you could also say that if someone was a Muslim and at the same time like a purist, they would personally keep it regardless of that. You could say you know. So
well, some say because the Jews rejected him,
Muhammad, or
they wasn't messing with no Muhammad. When Muhammad
they
came,
weren't messing with nobody. Obviously, they then that's a whole that we're gonna get into that too. They're not messing with anyone other than right now.
Yeah.
They're not messing with Yemeni Jews who never even. They're not even messing with Palestinian Jews too much today.
Well, when you start saying the so-called Jew, I'm not talking about them at all because they're not the Jew.
Well, you said that. I haven't called. I know what you're saying, but to me, I don't call so-called necessarily, because when I see someone, practicing the faith and have that in them, and I have no reason to. I give people the benefit of the doubt first, but I understand what you're talking about. They're not the only Jews, so to speak.
No, not only. They established being an Israelite by your mother.
Well, here, hold on. This is a subject that a lot of people miss. I haven't found someone to agree with what you're about to talk about right now. So let me finish explaining Pashtuns, right? So the Pashtuns, we established the code of Pashtu Wali, right? And so my last name, Ahmed Zai, translates into Pashtu of Yusuf Zai, means Zai, sons of Yusuf Joseph, sons of Joseph. So the sons of Benjamin and Joseph, we track, for example, through Saul's grandson, Afghana. That's where the name Afghanistan comes from. We have all the kings of Afghanistan were from the lineage of Benjamin, for example, right? And so on, right? I'm not here to talk about Pashtuns necessarily. I will say that most Afghans, especially after the Soviet invasion, we were sent back into kind of the dark ages. And so we became, and today it's a different situation. Like if I say the shit I'm talking about in the middle of Kabul, I'll be crucified upside down. You know what I mean? This is not going to work so well today. But history is history, and it is what it is. The interesting thing, though, is I don't understand what's so confusing to people, because God promised, El Shaddai promised Abraham his seeds in the form of the sons, right? And we can only track, is it God promised Abraham, right, in his sons, right? The lineage of sons.
No, he didn't say sons. No.
Father to son, nations.
No, he didn't say sons. He said son.
Okay. That's where we're gonna. I don't want to keep spinning with that.
You were going to Genesis at one point. You was going to Genesis 21. Where were you going for that one?
Genesis 21.
Yeah, when I was talking about Genesis 17, you had mentioned
21:17.
Oh, right.
When Hagar. Yeah.
That's after they got kicked out.
after Sarah bothered Abraham so much, hounding his ass, he
That's
said,
cap.
fine.
That's cap. So
We know how wives are. We know how, especially when it comes to heritage and
now when you read
inheritance.
verse 9, though, Hagar was mocking Sarah. You know why? Because of course, firstborn rights go to the firstborn. So
Agree. Yes.
right. So Hagar is like, my son, the firstborn. Yeah, you can have your son, but my son get the blessing. But she didn't know that the Lord talked to Abraham and Sarah about her son already. So when Sarah say, kick this bondwoman out, if I was to say that in today's term, kick that B out. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Right. And
Maybe she
Abraham
kicked
didn't
her out
want to
because
do
she
it.
was darker. Maybe she kicked her out because she was black.
Well, Sarah was black. Abraham was black.
Abraham
You
was
can't use that. Because Abraham for sure didn't look like these devils you see today. He did not look like that.
No, obviously he's from Ur. He's from Iraq, man. Like he's not walking around. He's
Right.
not from Yugoslavia, bro. Of course.
Right. He's not Amalek. He's not Ashkenazi. He's not none of that. So he
Well,
would look just like them.
they were darker then, by the way.
It's possible. I don't want to.
No, I'm saying Babylon. If you look, people were darker in those areas because they were the migrations. There was no European migrations.
Not okay, but European mixing does not count for the mixture that you see. It can, but there's many, like the beautiful thing about black or melanated people is that we can create any color of melanin. You could be extremely dark or extremely light. So Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar were all similar complexion of brown, different derivations of brown. So in Genesis 21, Abraham wanted to keep Ishmael there. And what did God say? God said, wait, let me read.
He wanted to keep him there because he wanted to keep his firstborn son there.
Right. And God, this was Genesis 21:12. And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad and because of the bondwoman, and all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So anytime you talk about Abraham's seed, you're only talking about Isaac.
I'm talking about all 8.
That's not what God's talking about.
Well,
God
we'll find out.
said,
One day we'll all find out.
You said what?
One day we'll all find out.
Now I know now.
So do I.
You see what you.
How many kids do you have? How many kids do you have?
Scripture.
I got 4.
You said what?
I got 4 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have different mothers. They're all my children.
They're all your children. But if God comes and say that third child you have is who he's going to make the covenant with, say we talking spiritual. We're not talking physical.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yes, I completely agree with that point, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my point to add on to that. The original, as far as the kingdom of Israel, the first covenant was made with King Saul. Because King Saul disobeyed by not killing every man, woman, child, and animal, he then took that covenant away and gave it to David. Right?
Say that one more time.
God gave a covenant with King Saul, and King Saul was ordered by God through the prophet to kill every man, woman, and child, as well as every animal in Amalek. Right?
Right.
And he didn't do it, so he disobeyed, and thus his covenant was taken away and given next to David. Correct?
I wouldn't say covenant. The throne was given.
That's the covenant.
And remember, when God did that on purpose. What did God say? I'm going to give y'all a king after your heart, and then I'm going to give you a king after my heart. So God already knew the type of king that Israel was going to get was going to be a sucker, and then he was going to give him the king that was after his heart, which was David. So the throne is different than the covenant. The covenant that he made with David afterwards was that the Messiah would come through his line.
That was after.
Right.
But so was Jesus the king of the Jewish people?
Christ was king of the Jews, not Jewish. Jewish is
The
not in
Jews,
the Bible except in the term of a lie.
Yeah. The king of the Jews.
Mhm.
And so he would be the king of the Jews the same way that King Saul at one point was the king of the Jews, and King David and King Solomon. That's a lineage of kings.
Yeah, but the lineage, Saul didn't have a lineage of kings though. Only David did.
That's because David had the children after. And once Saul had his son.
That's because Saul got it taken away from him. If
Exactly,
Saul,
exactly.
like that example that you gave,
You're right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you're right. He had it taken away because he already had 2 sons, I believe, and he had it taken away, and he was given to David and David's lineage.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's
Agreed.
why he doesn't have a lineage.
No, I'm saying at one point, Jesus was anointed as the king of the Jew, as Saul, as David, as Solomon. Forget about Messiah. At one point, they all wore that same crown and title of king of the Jew. There was only one in the whole world. There was one at a certain point. And at one point, that was Saul. At one point, that was Solomon. At one point, that was David. And according to people who believe it was Jesus, at one point, that was Jesus. At least that's what he was killed for, right?
No, he wasn't killed because of being king.
That's why he was crucified, right? It was capital punishment against going against Rome.
But that's not why he was killed. He was killed because the Jews didn't want him to take his place and nation away from, didn't want to lose their place with the Romans. That's why he was killed.
I agree, but they were losing
Well,
the
that's
place.
what the text say.
Well, if he was put above, then he was the Messiah, was the king, and then the Pharisees and Sadducees now have to be subservient to.
And they
someone
didn't
who's
want to
above
do
them.
that.
Of course not.
When Christ raised Lazarus from the dead, the Sadducees and Pharisees plotted to get him killed.
That's when they became one.
Well, they was all because the Sadducees they did join for that, right?
That's what they say. We got to unite right now because we got a big problem on our hand.
Who got a big problem?
The Pharisees and Sadducees have a big problem on their hand,
right? Because of Christ, correct?
Of course, that's how they united for the first time, because they were arguing back and forth. One was for the rich, one was for middle class. One believed in the oral Torah, one believed only in written, etc., etc., etc. Right? They were nonstop arguing, bickering back and forth. As they had always been, right? Even in the time of David, they were still arguing over different things and different titles. So, okay, let's see here. We got Israel. Let me ask you a question regarding the Bible. Are you familiar? So we have Sabbateanism, right? That was a new one. And then you know what happened 80 years after Sabbateanism? So the reason why the Jews
can you give my audience a recap of what the Sabbateanism?
Yeah, so Sabbateanism was.
Before you do that part,
Yeah.
can we just finish? I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Okay.
That the Jewish man teaches that you're Jewish according to your mother, but the Bible says you're an Israelite according to your father, and you can know that just as easily as there are 12 tribes of Israel, and they're all the sons of Jacob.
I agree.
On record, we know that Jacob had one daughter named Dinah, but there is no tribe of Dinah nowhere. So you're an Israelite according to your father.
I agree 100%. And as I said, as a Pashtun, I have to agree because we clarify on the DNA of the patriarchal lineage of sons of sons of sons of sons of. As a matter of fact, we don't even care who your mother is. If you're a Pashtun and you have, like, for example, my brother has a Vietnamese wife, so those children are Pashtun. My other brother has a black wife; those children are Pashtun. My other sister has
the seed, right?
Because the father's son,
right. The father
exactly. We don't care,
right? Yeah. Exactly.
We don't care who. Yeah,
but
we don't care.
Like Jewish people will look at Drake, like the rapper Drake.
Yeah, he's a Jew.
Drake is an Israelite
to them
from his father.
Yeah,
but he's Jewish to them according to his mother.
Yeah,
we don't believe in none of
that.
The
entire world, for the record, has never looked at matriarchal lineage ever.
Right. I don't know why those white people do that.
You want me to tell you why? I can tell you why.
Yeah, break it down.
Because of Sarah. Because if you don't recognize the marriage between Abraham and Sarah, then the Holy Land would defer to Ishmael being the first son. You have to say it has to do with the mother. Otherwise, it's the Muslims.
No, actually, no. It's the covenant. So you don't. I know you don't like the word covenant.
No, I love the word covenant.
Okay, so Ishmael don't have a covenant. Ishmael got a blessing. The covenant is why Isaac is where the seed comes from.
If you look at the argument of the League of Nations before the United Nations existed, of the actual argument they meant to say that the land of Palestine needs to be the Holy Land of the Jews, it was argued how I said specifically. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying that was their argument. The Jewish Europeans that you're talking about, the reasons why their whole argument is that was Abraham's actual wife, Sarah, and thus that was a covenant. Like that's the way they look at it. I think it has to do only with patriarchal lineage. That's the way. That's my belief. That's my entire lineage belief. That's the whole world belief of the entire history of the world. Father to son, father to son, father to son, father to son. You know why? The reason why is because a son can't get pregnant and have two potential fathers. So that's how the
Right.
world tracks through patriarchal lineage. Because we know that if I have a wife, that's my son. But if a woman can have two husbands, then we don't know who the son is. That's what it all boils down to is tracking sons.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
I
world's
agree.
tracking sons.
Right. And that
Enable.
all those men that was having sons, all those sons that Abraham had, he made that covenant with Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your perspective, but
That's
if
not
you
my
look at
perspective. That's what we read in the Bible.
no, okay, so let me rephrase that. Yes, I recognize fully that was a distinct covenant that is written and recorded, of which I accept that entire lineage. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying that I believe the entire promise of Abraham. I'm going back to when El Shaddai is speaking to Abraham, that I recognize that his seeds are his seeds. That's my
He never
perspective.
said that. He never said I recognize
Father
his
of nations,
seeds.
father of nations, not nation.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
plural.
read to you that Jacob became a company of nations.
You know that I'm not a. Well, you still think I'm a Muslim, right?
I think that you try to deny being a Muslim, but you defend them very well.
I defend anything. We can talk about any. I no. I can't tell. I'm having an amazing conversation with you.
Right. No,
I'll
I
be
agree.
defending. I'll
I
be
agree.
defending the Ashkenazi Jews here shortly. Doesn't mean I'm an Ashkenazi
You're
Jew.
gonna defend the Ashkenazi. You know what's weird? When they say Ashkenazi Jew, right? You know Ashkenazi in the Bible
Ashkenaz.
comes from Ashkenaz. You know they come from Japhet in the Bible.
Yeah.
So
That.
how can they
Yeah.
be from Japhet and from Shem at the same time?
How can Jesus be from David and God?
We're all from our Father and God.
They're like, sorry, Joseph. How can he be but if Joseph isn't the actual father,
Joseph is the Father.
so well, not according to the Christian Immaculate Conception concept.
There's no such thing as immaculate conception in the
To the
Bible.
Christians, there is.
Yeah, you know what's interesting?
Well, like,
Immaculate
see that?
conception.
I'm not a Christian. Now I'm a Christian, though, right? With that stuff.
Wait, yeah, no, you ain't a Christian. You just trying to mask your Muslim faith. But we
Oh
can talk about.
shit! Oh shit! It's good.
But the only way that Christ can be from the tribe of Judah and be from the line of David is if he is the son of Joseph.
Yeah, that's all. That's apologist. That's apology. Like
That's
that's
not
like
apologist.
let's get
The Lord told David that this Messiah would come from his loins or his sperm.
Yeah.
Joseph is from that sperm.
Yes.
So Jesus is from the sperm of Joseph.
Maybe.
Immaculate conception is the weird thing about immaculate conception is
It's not real.
they believe that Mary was also
Yeah.
immaculate.
Yeah. She was also an immaculate conception as well.
And when you
I don't
think
believe in any of
about
that shit.
Yeah, but when you think about it, the only way that would work is Mary's whole line would have to never have a father.
Yeah, now we're getting into we have now dragons and Game of Thrones and stuff. Like we have to draw a line at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like people can go, like, for example, you can go and say like Jesus is a great teacher. You could say Jesus is a great rabbi. You could say Jesus is a Messiah. You could say even the Son of God, Son of Man, all those concepts. But like when we have to take stuff to a higher and higher level, it becomes a little crazy. That's one thing. That gets a little funky, because now it's like if you track the creation of Christianity, it's just like deeper and deeper because they were battling their own Roman paganism. That's why they had to make these stories crazier and crazier because they were battling their own 1,000-year beliefs of crazy pagan stories. That's why it all came to be. That most of these people were worshiping the cults of Mithra. If you track the cult of Mithra, the entire concept of Jesus, Son of God, the Immaculate Conception, that's all Mithra stuff. That's all Persian Mithraism. That's where all that stuff came from. They had to battle their own paganism.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. You're obviously Old Testament. Like
I'm whole Bible, Genesis to Revelation, Old Testament, New Testament, all of that. And
so you're saying, so to you, Jesus was the fulfillment of the Messiah.
Yeah, he fulfilled what the Messiah was supposed to do.
But Jesus is not God, correct?
No.
Okay. And
Out of his
Jesus,
own mouth, he said he's not God.
okay, so now we're on the same page. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
there is no human God, correct?
No,
Okay, Hosea, for example. God is not a
Hosea.
man.
Hosea, I don't know what you mean when you say that.
Um, I'm going to start misquoting Hosea 12:1. I think God is
Well,
not
when
a
it said
man.
God is not a man that he should
Yeah.
lie, like, well, I don't know what you
No,
mean.
God is not a man. Like that's real simple. Like
Yeah,
how
God is not a
God
man.
is not a man. The
Not
old,
like like so like if you see text like when it say God is a man in war, he's not a man like you and I,
yeah.
but it's the masculine vibe that he has. He's not a feminine like that.
Yeah, I'm just saying like God is not a man. It's all over. That's the entire concept. Uh
Yeah, God is not a man. He hasn't been on this planet. That's not God. No.
Hosea 11:9. God is not a man.
Yeah, it says, "For I am God and not man." Right.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Yep.
That
I
very
agree.
simple. I don't that's the end of that subject. We can move on. If certain people will get in that conversation for 1 hour where they're going to start quoting Paul and telling me why God is Jesus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to you
You know,
it,
that's one thing you're right. I guarantee you, in my comment section and probably yours,
people
they're gonna
arguing.
start hitting videos and I'm excuse me, hitting comments. No, he's a god because of this verse, this verse, this verse.
Pope
Mhm.
Innocent III declared that Jesus was in fact God. I'd be like, "Oh, really? Pope Innocent, huh?" Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. I'm not here with that whole
Mm-hmm.
entire that's the synagogue of Satan.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, white people in general are the synagogue of Satan, but
Oh
Jewish
shit.
people specifically are the synagogue of
So
Satan.
am I white in your through your lens? Am I white?
Well, you ain't told me what your ethnicity is. You
I'm
told me you
Afghan,
some Persian,
Afghanistan.
Pushkin. What is it that you
No,
said? Pu-
Pashtun,
Pashtun.
which is Afghan. We are Afghan.
So you're Ishmael. You sound like you look
No,
you
brother, we're not for Ishmael. If that's the case, why didn't no Arab countries help us during all the invasions? No, we're from the line of Benjamin and Joseph.
you definitely not from Benjamin and Joseph.
Okay, well, I can assure you that if we want to track history, we have a 2,700-year track record
Of
from
lies, probably.
not of lies. We're
In
directly
John the 4th chapter, when Christ was dealing with that woman at the well, they had
uh,
lived in Assyria so long that she thought she was an Israelite,
we
and
never
she
lived in
wasn't.
Assyria. We left.
No, I'm
We
just
left.
giving you an example
Yeah,
of
we left
even
Samaria in 728
if
and
I
went to
go to a
Afghanistan.
Jewish if I go to a Jewish person, they're gonna tell me that they're a Jew, even though they're not. And they'll say, well, we've had this history for so long.
No, but their history for so long. You're talking about thousands of years of migration through Yugoslavia, through Germany, through Russia. We went from Samaria to the lands of what modern day called Afghanistan,
Yeah, that's what I'm
2,700
saying. That's
years.
like when I go to I think it's
Yeah,
Jeremiah.
but follow my train of thought real quick.
Mhm.
If you and I are brothers and we're from a certain tribe, and we know that we've been there for 2,700 years, we defeated Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, uh, every single invasion possible, Soviet Union, United States, England, everybody. We've never been conquered one time. How can we question our own history when we know that we've never been bred out or conquered by nobody? How are we not confused? How
That's
are we
not true because
confused?
y'all converted to Islam, so y'all
That's a
was at the time.
choice that we can convert to anything. My father can become Buddhist tomorrow. It doesn't
Nah,
matter. Change his DNA.
you just said in history that they converted to Islam.
There's not a mass conversion. That is the problem. You look into it. Look into the. I'll type it into you. Look into it, and then you tell
Mhm,
me. So,
mhm.
so to you, what? I'm European. I'm French.
Mm-mm. I told you, to me, you're Ishmael.
Okay.
You're Ishmaelite to me.
Even though our lineage is from
I know you want to tell me that your lineage comes from Benjamin and Joseph.
my last name means sons of Joseph.
A lot of people got last names. My last name is Gas. It's from Germany. I ain't German.
Nah, but yeah, but that's a good history we should get into also as well. That
Mhm.
migration is an interesting one, and it's a challenge too, man. I think that's probably one of the hardest challenges to uncover is, you know, uh, um, what do you think of like the Igbo tribe and all that?
Igbo tribe predominantly will be Hamites, but minority would be Israelites. So you have Israelites among the Igbo tribe. You got Israelites amongst the Ashanti tribe. So Israelites are scattered within those tribes.
Oh, you know what? Because we keep breaking. So let's close the one door that we had, which was
Okay.
Hashem. So the concept of using God's name as Hashem was a
Mhm.
reaction that the Jews had after they had this sabotage fee and this big false Messiah conversion to Islam situation. So instead, they said basically, let's be safe and not use God's word, and let's create a new word, which is Hashem. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's where that came from. They came as a fear response when the last time they were using God's name properly, and then all of a sudden their Messiah ended up being converting to Islam. 80 years later, what happened was a guy named Jacob Frank, and Jacob Frank said he was a reincarnation of Shabbat Tzvi, and he ended up saying, "I'm the Messiah and the reincarnation, and I'll lead the way." And he converted a massive amounts of people. Then he like marched to Poland and then said, "Guess what? We're Christian now." Right.
Mhm.
And so within 80 years, you had like two big false messiahs appear. And so right around that time, you have the Baal Shem Tov and you have like the Vilna Gaon, and they like collectively agreed, no one's using God's name anymore. We're going to use the name, which is Hashem, the name. So I disagree with
Yeah,
it.
that's
I
some
think
white folk shit. Yeah,
it's a
that's some
made up
white
name
folk
to
shit.
me. I don't know.
That's from the schizophrenic that was the Messiah that said he gonna convert to Islam.
It was a response to his to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a response to his presentation. And so you are you familiar with the concept of the Erev Rav?
No, I don't know what that
Okay.
is.
Erev Rav is Genesis. I'm sorry, Exodus. Um Erev Rav is like Exodus 12:38.
All right, let me go to Exodus 12 and
38.
38.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think you're
says,
gonna this is
and
gonna
the mixed
explain a lot of stuff. The mixed multitudes, right?
what about it? What about the mixed
Okay.
multitude?
So the concept of Erev Rav, right, within what we call Judaism, right? So you have when you have let's track for history for the audience, right? You have
As you going, the mixed multitude is what?
the terminology he's talking about is within the Hebrew people that are during the Exodus. He's referring to them as you have a mixed multitude, meaning you're
Meaning
not.
like other nations with them?
Yes, which is the
Yeah,
Egyptians. That's what the Erev Rav is.
that's not
So
true.
what do you mean?
Well, I want you to explain.
Okay.
We're gonna read in the scripture. You'll see that's not true. But go ahead.
We can go in, yeah. So in essence, what happened was when Moses came to Egypt, Moses received his revelation in Midia, and he goes back and says, "Set my people free." They have a little bit of magic battle, remember, with the staff, with the snakes, and all that. Then there's the plagues, the series of plagues, and eventually, the Pharaoh says, "Get the hell out of here!" Right? You can go. Right. And so what the Pharaoh did was he sent his dark sorcerers and his magicians in with them
Mhm.
to go find out the source of this magic or this god or whatever you want to say. And this was the Erev Rav. These are the Erev Rav that were not actually a part of that of the Hebrew people who were injected in as like the dark sorcerers to uncover the magic that Moses was possessing that was stronger than the Egyptian magic, right?
Yeah, he
So
was fucking him up.
so the concept of the Erev Rav, in essence, you could say is the spiritual concept, but really it's an actual group of people which are entitled Erev Rav. So later, when you fast forward and you see all of the trials and tribulations of the people, when people are like, let's turn around, it's too hard out here. When
Mhm.
Moses goes up to receive the covenant, they're like, quickly, let's go and create a golden calf to pray to the old gods to have
Right.
mercy on us. Those are
Right.
Erev Rav. And so with
That's
a
not those Israelites.
they're Erev Rav.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We can't read what you're saying. So, like when I read the verse in Exodus 12 and 37, the verse before 38,
Mhm.
it says, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men.
Yeah.
So those 600,000 are men, we agree, right?
I don't know. You mean like men as in men and women, or just something
No,
like
just men.
mankind?
The text says that were men.
That's what it says. Yeah,
Right.
I don't believe it, but yeah.
It says besides children. Then
Mm.
in verse 38, it says a mixed multitude. So verse 37 represents the military that was on foot, that were men. They were the men. The mixed multitude of the men, women, and children that are not the 600,000. The mixed multitude is not other nations of people.
So I'm trying to think of what verse.
Yeah, give me a
I'm trying to
verse.
think of the verse that's talking about the golden calf and how they were supposed to be
That's
killed.
Exodus 32.
32.
Yeah, Exodus 32. and 1, it says, and when the people saw that Moses delayed and came down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, make us gods that we shall go before us for as this Moses, the man brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings, which are the ears of your wives and sons and daughters. So when you read
Great.
this, not only do you read that these are Israelites that are doing it, but when Moses came down and slayed them, he didn't slay non-Israelites. He slayed Israelites.
That followed. that followed the era of Rav.
Mm. Well, why didn't he slay non-Israelites then? Why did he only slay Israelites?
Well, they thought they were all the same people. What I'm saying is that God warned Moses that they were infiltrated. God warns Moses, right? They proceed and move forward, and the exact warning seems to keep materializing itself on a higher and higher level until the final draw, so to speak, was the golden calf, right? The pure paganism.
No,
Those people.
what I'm asking you specifically is when God punished them for the golden calf, why did he only slay Israelites? It doesn't say that he slayed a mixed multitude.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
question. I don't know.
That's a good question, right?
That's a good that's a good question.
Yeah.
And so with the concept of Erev Rav, right? When you keep following through history, when you see people like this guy Rabbi Yochai who wrote the Zohar over 250 times, he mentions the Erev Rav, which in essence are the fake Jews. When Jesus says the synagogue, you are from the synagogue of Satan, your father is Satan. He's not talking about Jews. He's talking about Erev Rav specifically. He's talking about the Jews, the people that pretend to be Jews but use the black magic, that are using the manipulation, the dark forces, etc. These are the people that have been masking
Moses
themselves.
wasn't using black magic though.
Not Moses.
Okay,
Gotcha. I'm talking about the Erev Rav, the Egyptian sorcerers that were injected in by Pharaoh to cause chaos, deceit, and to learn the magic for the dark reasons, so to speak. So when you track the biggest rabbis in history, right? They whether it's the Baal Shem Tov, all of them, especially in the Zohar, over 250 times, they're mentioning and warning, beware of those who call themselves Jews and are not. Well, this is the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is what you're talking about all day. And I'm trying to say that throughout the entire history of Jewish scriptures, from the Zohar to all the biggest rabbis that ever lived, they all warn of this thing called the Erev Rav, which are the fake crypto Jews that are not actually Jews.
But they talking about themselves.
Nah, I don't think so. Oh, you're saying
when the Jewish man converted to Judaism, he's been talking about himself forever. That's why they got mad. You ever heard of Helen Thomas? She was she used to work in the White House for years, and then one day she had the audacity to say that they should go back to Russia, Germany, Poland, where they're from, and they fired her. Everybody knows they're not. Even when they established the state of Israel, historically that wasn't the first place that they was going, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go to where in Africa was it?
Not just Africa. They was gonna go somewhere in South America first.
Oh yeah, Uganda.
No, Uganda. They was just looking for any place to go because white people didn't want them.
Yeah.
Like they gave Hitler hell. Like I ain't a fan of Hitler at all, so I want to make sure I say that first. But they gave Hitler hell because he wanted to expel Jewish people. But then Hitler gave a speech that said, y'all mad at me for wanting to get them out of my land, but none of y'all will accept them. The British didn't want them. The French didn't want them. The Spain didn't want them. Italy didn't want them. Nobody wanted them. And so now what they was looking for was a place that they could find, and wherever that would have been, like we would have thought South America was the state of Israel. We would have thought Africa was the state of Israel, or one place in Africa.
It was Uganda, and I can't remember in South America it was, but it was just a matter of having its own nation. That was Herzl's plan with Baron de Rothschild, right? There was the concept.
And so what they did was they lied to the Palestinians, and they created that. I could find the
no, I'm with that's what happened. They
lied. I forget
temporarily
the Balfour Act. I believe
it's called Balfour Declaration, Act. Lord Balfour.
Right. It was the Balfour Act, and what they won't tell you in history is that the Palestinians, like I have the video where the Palestinians is welcoming,
letting them,
welcoming the Jewish people in, and then like the good devils white people are, They get in there, they start unaliving, they start killing, they start doing that. There was an agreement. They was only supposed to bring a certain amount of people in
All right,
there.
Captain, so real quick, I gotta know. So I am a white devil or not a white devil to you? I'm an Ishmaelite,
No, you're an Ishmaelite.
not a white
Now,
devil.
now there are such thing what we call pale Arabs. Pale Arabs are
Of
white
course not. Of
Arabs, where they really
course.
Edomites or white people. But you keep pushing this Pashtun shit, so I'm gonna call you an
Pashtun,
Ishmaelite.
Pashtun, 56 million
Yeah, so
people,
I'm
the
gonna just
largest
call you.
patriarchal tribe on earth.
Yeah, so I don't agree with none of that, but I'm gonna just call you an Ishmaelite unless I get some new
No, you
information.
just call
So
me
you not
Pashtun. I'll call you a black
okay?
Hebrew
Pashtun. No,
Israelite.
no,
You
but
call
when
me a
you say
Pashtun.
the only reason I said that was you asked me, do I look at you as a white man? I
White
can't
devil.
say that, right? But you could be a devil. You just ain't a white devil.
Okay.
I'm not
I could
calling
be an
you a
Ishmaelite
devil.
devil.
But anybody, no, and to just so you know, when Christ said, "Ye are of your father the devil," he was talking about Israelites. So anybody technically
Yeah, I
can be a
understand what you
devil
mean.
because the word devil just
Yeah,
means
yeah.
deceiver. When we call the white man the devil, there ain't nobody more deceptive on the planet as a devil than the white man.
You're talking about historical.
Yeah, historical.
You're saying it doesn't matter
When
if
you
they're
think about it,
Portuguese and
there's no
French, they
land.
collectively come together as white people and push the
Yeah,
black people
yeah,
and suppress
white
them.
Jesus, devil. Taking North America, devil. South America, devil. Even in the lands, the Middle East, in the name of that 9/11, they killed like 11 million innocent people. They're the devil.
Well, yeah, I'm from my family's in Afghanistan, I have 126 cousins
See,
there.
see.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure
I
you
would be
hate them
sitting
like
around.
me.
People are like, man, they go, man, fuck them Arab motherfucking Afghan fucking Taliban. And I'm sitting there like this, like, I'm the firstborn non uh, Afghan. I was born in DC, like at the same 2 months after the Soviet invasion. So I'm like the firstborn like not in Afghanistan in my family for
Mhm.
thousands of years. And they're sitting
Okay,
here spouting the most racist shit that was socially acceptable
right,
because 9/11. I'm like, there was fucking Arabs on the planes. Last time I
right.
checked, there were no Afghan
Hey,
people on the planes.
for my audience, I think you might have used the term Black Hebrew Israelite. I think you might have used that.
Yes, I
And
did.
just to give you the history behind that,
Let's
that's a
go.
terminology that the white Jewish people say about us as a derogatory term. Just so you
Really?
know, yeah, ain't no
Because the
such
black
thing
part,
as
no, because the black part.
yeah. So
Got
they
it.
would say, "Oh, that's them Black Hebrew Israelites" as a derogatory term.
Like how they call me, they'd say like Afghan, they call you an Arab. They're using it derogatory. They're saying
Right, or
brown.
like they call us the N word.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
call us the N word, it's the same exact thing. So now, and most people don't know that.
I
So
didn't
you
know
didn't
that.
say that
Otherwise,
right. So
yeah.
you didn't
No,
say
of
it in
course.
a disrespectful manner.
No, of course not.
That's why I'm just teaching you, so my audience don't think you being,
Yeah, no. If I'm
disrespectful.
gonna disrespect someone, I'm gonna do it direct, live, and in full effect. I'm not gonna like
I would
sneaky
hope so,
shit.
because that's what I do.
Yeah, I would never sneak that shit. I think I even put black. Last time I checked, people in Afghanistan aren't, running away from shit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would never do something like that. I don't find any if someone starts doing that stuff with me, then I'll, whatever. I'll blast back for sure. But no, I don't do that. That's sneaky little, that's very European, by the way. That's a, like you say, white devil tactics. Those are white
Mm-hmm.
devil tactics.
Yeah,
Like
definitely white devil tactics.
throwing race on things is a derogatory term. To me, I don't understand how that
Listen, not
works.
just race, skin tone, rich and
Yeah.
poor. There's only a North and South Korea because the Russians supported one side and America supported another side.
Ideology.
Yes, the ideology.
It's ideology. The
Yep.
Korea, Vietnam,
Yep.
East and
And
West
so, just so
Germany.
you know, just some from our audience sake, we just prefer the term Israelite. Now, Hebrew Israelite will come up as well,
Yeah.
but Hebrew is the language we speak. Israelites is where we are. But
Okay.
I do understand why people, when they talk to me, they use that term Black Hebrew Israelite. So I wasn't offended
Yeah.
when
Thank
you
you.
said it, but I did just want to educate you on it, just so
Yeah. I
my
appreciate
audience
that.
can say, "Cap, you didn't say
Yeah.
nothing to him."
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, you know where I got that from is because when I was watching your debate videos, they would
Mhm.
say that they would say that like they would like say like, oh, Christian destroys black Hebrew Israelite. And I watched the video. I'm like, I don't see, all I saw was a temper tantrum
Mhm.
and you sitting there just like stoic. I didn't really see where, where you got
Because I
this.
don't. Okay, so when it comes to
I
getting
didn't really,
a response out of me, it's extremely hard to do it. Like if I feel like you trying to say something to intentionally bother me, it's
yeah.
extremely hard. You know, I'm pretty skilled at this job.
That's not going to really work though. Like you could come here and you call me. Like, what'd you call me? You call me you said I'm a Muslim. Like I don't know.
No, I asked if I said no. I asked if you was a
You're
Muslim.
still calling me an Ishmaelite, so I don't know.
No,
So
you
that's first.
asked me what do I look at you as a white man, as a
Yeah,
white devil?
white
And I
devil.
said no, based on everything you're saying, you're like an
Yeah,
Ishmaelite, but you prompted the question though.
yeah. Of
And
course,
then you cleared it up
I
and
asked
said,
you
no, you
directly.
pushed is it pushed in?
Pashtun.
Pashtun. I'm gonna
P A
try to
S
remember that.
H T
Huh?
U N.
Yeah,
P
I'm gonna
A
try to
S
remember
H T U N. Pashtun.
Pashtun.
Yeah, brother.
Pashtun. Okay,
Yeah,
Pashtun.
we're if you want to talk about like the indigenous battle, like we
Hmm.
are the epicenter of every major superpower that's ever existed has tried to come conquer us. We're in the Central Asia. It was
Hmm.
originally called the Khorasan. It was from Afghanistan. Before that, we were called Khorasan.
Hmm.
Before that, we were called Ariana. And in the time when ancient Egypt was called Al Kemet, and when Mesopotamia was Mesopotamia, the Indus
Hmm.
Valley was called Ariana, and we spoke a language called Avesta, and that's the that's one of the three recorded civilizations that we have in those areas. Where half of Iran was a part of it, a large part of a quarter of India was a part of it, and all of the northern Uzbek, Tajik, so on. And when you see things like Genghis Khan come in and start conquering, he hit the wall, then he goes up north. That's why you see all those Middle Eastern people with Asian eyes, because Genghis Khan took business north and goes to Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, so on. Then went back and got
Well, I got
Russia.
Asian eyes, so I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. I got Asian eyes.
Well, I mean, you can see like Middle Eastern people with Asian eyes, right? That's from Genghis.
Hmm.
That's when Mongolians came through. That's a recorded history, But the
Yeah.
Asian, but maybe, I mean, I don't have any Mongolian blood in me though, for sure, nor Greek or any of that shit. You know what I mean? So let me ask you a question, Cap.
Hmm.
We got patriarch. We agree in the patriarchal
Right.
lineage of
We
the
agree
history
with
of the
that,
world,
patriarch.
for sure, and that is that. But we can find that we can track that through Y chromosomes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
That's why even like when a woman goes and get her DNA test, she can't get her Y chromosome because she don't carry that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you believe in good and evil, right? Good and
Yeah.
evil,
Okay. Yeah.
the
I'll
existence
roll
of
with you
good
on
and
that.
evil,
Yes.
right? That can go inside of it, like spiritually someone can be possessed with evil, their mind can be corrupted by evil exists independent of,
Hmm.
as well as goodness, right? Goodness exists and evil exists, as
I
right.
would say the good and evil is already in us,
Yes,
and then whatever temptation brings us to the left or the right, it
yes,
was already in us. I would
yeah.
say it like that.
And so you would say like the worship of one God, as the covenant from God and Abraham and through the lineage, that would be the promise of goodness on the earth, correct?
The worship of one God. Say it again. I want to make sure I
Like,
answer this right.
yeah, it's not. I'm not trying to. It's not a trick
No, I
question.
know
It's
you're
more
not. I just want
like
to make sure I answer it right.
from all the beliefs of all the different types of things, and even within the Canaanite Semitic tribes, you did have Moloch, right? You have people sacrificing children to Moloch,
Right.
and the interesting part is that if you look, Moloch was also considered an Elohim, just like Dagon,
Where
just
was
like
Molech considered a Elohim?
according to the Ugaritic text, had a list of all the Elohim,
Okay, so according to
which are
another belief system, that's not the Bible.
it's hard. No, it's not the Bible. No,
Okay, no sweat.
no, it's not the Bible. Basically, it just gave us those texts gave us an opportunity to see that at the time. The interesting part about those texts is that
Mhm.
whereas, for example, like in modern day Lebanon, like in Tyre, like they worship Dagon, right? And then
Mhm.
over here they worshipped Asherah was like the consort
Right.
of
Of
El
El or
Shaddai.
Baal.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
Well, Baal,
Asherah was the
exactly.
consort of Baal.
Originally, yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. At that exact time. And so these were all considered gods, which were the word they use in all the Semitic languages collectively
Mhm.
in Canaan was called Elohim, right? And but
Right.
an interesting part of the Ugaritic text shows us is that all of these Semitic tribes of Canaan all realized that above any of the Elohim they worshipped as like national gods, so to speak, that
Mm-hmm.
there was El Elyon, which would be like the breaking of the firmament, and then above that was El, and the El was the name that they used and prayed to on and in different poems about the Most High, like the highest understanding of God. They referred to as El, and that's the interesting part because we're taught through history that all of a sudden everyone was like, child sacrificing pagans. But then you go and uncover this text, and it looks like, yeah, they were there over there, they were crazy. Over here was this, over here was this, over here was this. But somehow they all use the same name for
Well,
God.
the
Like they all
name
had.
of God for Israel is Yahweh. El is not God. Like when you put El or when you say the term God, that's not. So, like in Psalms the 83rd chapter, it says that thou whose name alone is Yahweh art the most high over all the earth. So Elohim just means like power, God, angel, messenger, authority. It has multiple definitions, but that's not the most high's name.
No, it's not.
Right.
Elohim is a reference, a plural word, means gods.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But it could be singular too. It could be
They
singular or
use it
plural.
singular, but I think that's
Right.
my point. I think that's where deception comes in because it was never a singular thing. It became a consolidation, similar to how there were different like El Shaddai's here, but then
Hmm.
there was something called Yahwism, like in the northern kingdoms before Yahweh became the national God of Israel. There was
Right.
worship of Yahweh, and at the time there was Baal also, right?
Mm.
And those were all considered to those people in those times. Those were all called different Elohim. That's the
Yeah, but
interesting
they
part
could
of
be
it.
called, listen, for us, they could be called anything by whatever belief system they're in. We don't care. According to us, they trash. According to
Yeah.
us,
I understand. Yeah,
right,
no, I understand of course, you're saying this is the only true God, right? And
right.
I'm saying that people at those times worship different gods and all said that there was the same singular God, all the in those lands of Canaan. I understand what you're saying. You're saying this. You're saying God Most High is the Tetragrammaton. Yud Hey Vav Hey, however you pronounce it. They say Yahoo in certain
Hmm.
aspects. Originally, I think in Aramaic they said Allahu, right? Didn't Jesus would have said Allahu, I believe,
For
in
what?
Aramaic,
For what
God,
word?
God.
He would have said
And-
Alahayim.
yeah, okay,
Hmm. He would have
yeah.
said Alahayim.
But
Hmm.
we're describing the same thing with the in different languages, right?
Okay. Right. What's that? But okay, so when we talk about the term God, Alahayim, Elohim, El, that's all one thing.
Yeah,
Anybody can use that word. It's like saying sheep. Anybody can use the word for sheep. But when we talk about the name of the Most High, that's Yahweh. That's his name. The name of Dagon is Dagon. If you call Dagon a god, God is not Dagon's name. Dagon would be the name. Baal would be the name. Molech would be the name.
yeah.
Ashtaroth would be the name. So the name of the God of Israel is Yahweh. So they all can use a similar. Even when you brought up earlier when you said Islam means one who submits, right?
No, Muslim.
Muslim, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Muslim means one who submits
to the will of God.
to the will of God. That's the whole phrase. So
Yeah,
now technically that phrase, anybody could say, I submit to God. Anybody can use that phrase.
yeah. That's what I was saying. That's my
Right.
point.
But when you
Yeah,
say Muslim, that's that terminology of Muslim is refined to them, to Muslims.
a
When
Muslim.
you say Yahweh, it's refined to Israelites. When you say God, God can be anybody. A man can be called, like even Psalms 82 and 6, we're called gods. So a man can be called God because it's just a power angel. Moses was called God by God.
Yeah,
God said to Moses, I have made thee a God to Pharaoh. So the term God can be applied to anybody or anything.
got it.
Mhm.
So do you classify yourself as a Jew? You don't classify yourself as a Jew.
Yeah, well, I classify myself as an Israelite from the tribe of Judah.
Okay,
So I
from
would be
Judah.
a Jew
So
because
you'll
that's
be a
the
Jew
tribe I,
based on.
right,
Yeah.
based on that
Got
tribe.
it.
But somebody else, let's say if someone's from Benjamin or Ephraim, they would be an Ephraimite, they would be a Manassite, a Gadite, like that.
Yes, because the Jews would really be like two, maybe three tribes from Judea,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Right.
the entire history. It's interesting because the entire. I was thinking about this like last week. The entire history of the Hebrew Israel, like the history of Israel and the Hebrew tribes, it really all just is consolidated. Like if you say if you say the what is it called? Not the Exodus, when the Babylonians in 530, right?
Mm-hmm.
They came and invaded Judea, right?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be like the only history we follow, right? On a global scale, we see, okay, Babylon came and invaded, pushed them out to Babylon for a few hundred years, and then they came back. Some of them came back, some of them stayed there, right? Then they spread all through Europe. This seems to be like the entire history.
I'm sorry. I was I thought I had got a strike on my YouTube channel, but it's fine. Can you
Why?
say that part? Well, it wasn't a strike, it was a warning, but I actually just won the appeal. So I
Is it
just
because I
appealed.
cursed?
No, 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 it wasn't you. It was a video I put up about some transgender dude or something like that. And
I don't even
so yeah,
use that word.
yeah, YouTube like well, that's the only good thing Trump did was he took away and made it only two genders. That's always been the genders, and that's male and female.
Yeah, even just using, even just say, like there's men and then there's women. So
That's it.
you're saying this T word, you mean a guy that's dressed like a woman.
Right. I agree.
That I'm not playing the word a dude dressed like a woman. Got it.
Right. I
What
agree.
about it?
Hmm.
That's how that ends. That debate is short with me.
I agree.
That debate's 20 seconds.
Yeah. That
And
that
so,
XY chromosome kills the whole argument.
bro, body sweat.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine like body hair, brother? Like
So
what
you
are we
might
talking?
not be a white man because most white men fight that. White man is a natural homosexual.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have to say maybe if I was a lesbian or something, but I don't know. Like, that. Yeah, I don't have that situation. I mean, don't give me like I don't even know. To me, that concept doesn't really make sense to me.
Right.
Like, thank God, I guess. Because it makes sense to some people, and I do sympathize with that situation. I mean, I don't know. And there's I have nothing to do with that, to be completely honest. There's certain things I have nothing to do with.
That's
You
what's
know,
up.
that's one thing I have nothing to do with. So tell me this one thing I'm confused about with the plight of the Israelites. How does it go to South America? Where does that come from? Because I was
So
looking before this conversation, and I don't see any. You got the Assyrian invasion, the Babylonian invasion, and the migration, and then from there, I don't see any South America there.
so in Second Ezra 13, I think in verse like 40, it might be, you'll see that the northern kingdom, the northern Israelites migrated to a land called Arsareth. Arsareth is what we today know as America. So that's North and South America. So when we started looking up historically, we found out that like the Mexicans and other different tribes was carrying Israelite culture in their lands. So historically, that's how we line up the South Americans to being Israelites as well.
Okay, but wouldn't we be able to determine all this stuff through DNA?
It's hard. Okay, so I took a DNA test, right?
Yeah,
And it's hard to, I could never believe that the white man who took away our identity is now going to give us a DNA test and tell us exactly who we are.
it's a
That's
good point.
one.
It's a good point.
Two, DNA works primarily on live data. So, like if you go for a child, or let's say if there's a murder that happened, there's live data to compare that DNA to.
Yes,
So when you start going back generations, at some point there's no live data to compare it to say you're from this, you're from that. That's why I
that's
use
true.
the best example that I give is that these triplet white women, right? It was three white girls, same mother, same father, gave a they did a DNA test. And even though they got the same mother, same father, came out of the same vagina at the same time, when the results came back, even their information was different. They had another instance where they had this one black woman go to like three different clinics. And when she went to those three different clinics, they gave her three different answers of her ancestry because at some point, the DNA is just a guess. So the Y chromosome part could be correct, like,
Yeah,
tracing the Y chromosome, but to tell you what tribe you come from.
No, impossible.
I don't. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
impossible.
that's impossible. Yeah, and the plight, the actual plight. Like, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all in any way whatsoever, because that's like virtually impossible. We just
Right.
kind of came up with that shit all of a sudden, and it changes all the time too, by the way, because then there's like sub haplo groups and sub haplo groups, and they go from like, okay, you're from the R1A1A subcategory M160, and then you click the next one from there of like M158, and it's like, oh yeah, that's from like 3,000, I'm sorry, 6,500 to 15,000 years ago. What?
Right.
Six, that's you're talking about like 6,000 years, and then the whole world is lit up. So I don't think they really know shit when it comes to that. I was just more curious, because I do understand that from how it goes, like from from Israel, and then going in through Africa. And so I mean, look,
Hmm.
Solomon,
And that's why
Solomon, like,
most black, and the interesting thing, most black people, the only thing you can say when we say that we came from the west coast of Africa, that's where it's going to tell for most black Americans, it's going to say that you came from there, which kind of would fit to when the Israelites say that we came from the west coast of Africa.
yeah,
It'll fit that narrative because that's where we came from. But it's just hard for me to trust it only because, like, if I go take 4 DNA tests for my child, those 4 DNA clinics are going to have the same answer. I'm either going to be the father or I'm not. But if I go to 4 clinics for my DNA for ancestry, I'm gonna get 4 different answers. So it's hard for me to put stock in that. That's why.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but you can track also the lineage of like Solomon and David all through, like, yeah. The I guess at the end of the day, the most important part is the I guess you could, there's really no other way to say it, it's the whitewashing of history. There's no other
Mm-hmm.
way to say it.
That's absolutely correct.
I mean
It's
that
definitely the whitewashing of history, and that's what the white man does. So,
yeah.
like, that's why like that debate that you was talking about. When I asked them about Jesus, when we go into the Bible, it says he had skin of bronze. So if they love Jesus, why they make him white?
Because they were white.
So
Everyone wants to see why is why is Santa Claus white? And then why is Santa Claus dark brown in Persia? And why was he black? The
hmm
variations of Santa Claus in Iraq, because
right.
everyone wants to see their reflection. Why? You know, Zeus
hmm
was looking Greek.
Right.
I
We
understand
in
in one,
agreement.
yeah, I understand in one way of it, but at the same time, like, if things are, if we're talking about God, and we're talking about covenants, and we're talking about like the unchangeable forming itself into an establishment of a kingdom, so to speak, here upon earth,
hmm
like, if you were so serious about that, you wouldn't be changing everything. And again, for me, like, coming from like Afghan heritage, like, we take great pride in not being conquered and not being subdued. And there's no, as far as our history, if you look at everything that looks at Afghanistan, all of a sudden, Rumi is Persian,
Right.
Zarathustra's everyone's fucking Persian. But yet, if you go and look, and it says Rumi and Zarathustra were both born in a city called Balkh. Balkh is in Afghanistan now, and in the time of Khorasan, that was still called that was still a part of Afghanistan then. The reason it's called Persian and they say Indo-Persian is because when the British conquered India and they couldn't conquer Afghanistan, they take the entire history of Afghanistan and call it Indo-Persian. Well, what's in the middle of India and Persia? It's called Afghanistan. So we have no history in English.
hmm
We have no history in English. We did nothing. We've never invented shit. You know.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you have the highest concentrations of Sufi poets. You have 1,000 years, the largest Buddhist community lived in Afghanistan in the lands of Khorasan.
hmm
Zarathustra was from Afghanistan, even though it wasn't called Afghanistan at the time. The point is that land now today is called Afghanistan since like the 1800s. And
Right.
so I've being born in Washington, D.C., and then being raised in America and speaking English as a first language, and then knowing history, and then Googling it up here and looking at it here, and all of a sudden you're talking about you're taking Afghan history and calling it Indian, and then you're calling it Persian. And although those are their own people, you know what I mean? Like, India is India, and has a historical thing, but Persia's been conquered by the Greeks. Persia's got a different history, right? We're completely different people, and we're certainly not Arab. That's why I can't be an Ishmaelite to you, because I don't have no Arab. Well, I can pull my DNA for you, right? I don't have 1% Arab. You know what? Let me tell you, Captain. I have as much Arab blood as I do Nigerian. None. I have zero. I have no Chinese blood either.
So you
I've
might
got
be an Elamite then.
maybe, but that it's if maybe
You
an
might be an
Edomite,
Elamite.
Elam or
You're still
Edom,
Shem. You still Shem,
Elam
but
or
you might be an
Edom,
Elamite.
Elam or Edom,
Elam, E-L-A-M.
Elamite.
No,
Okay.
Edom, that's Edomites. That's white people. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put you in the white category. I'll
I
take
don't
you
even
out.
give a fuck. You know what I mean? Put me whatever. Just don't call me the white devil, bro. That's the only pushback you're gonna get
I
from
ain't
me.
gonna call you white devil.
That's all. That's only everything
You
else.
know, you lying about some shit, but I ain't gonna call
Like
you a
what?
devil.
Call me out. What?
No. Well, I think I've called you out on the things as we've dialogue, like the
Like
things
what?
that you said wrong, like the whole Ishmael, the covenant shit. You know.
No. But that's my again. I'm looking at it from a purist perspective. I'm saying the
What?
covenant from Avram to Abraham, and I
Right.
respect all the sons of his seeds. That's equally.
Right.
That's nothing
That's
wrong with
just
that.
not in the Bible.
It doesn't. That's fine though. But to me, in my perspective, I'm looking at them equally as a seed of the one who had the covenant. I don't understand what's wrong. And by the way, don't think that every Jew and every Muslim and everyone's all arguing about that. That's fine. I consider myself a purist on this.
No, that's what Jewish people and the Ishmaelites be arguing. They both think that they have. That's why people don't
They
think
think
that
they have
Abraham had
superiority.
other sons, because Ishmael and them fake Jews, propagate that belief so hard. When you tell people about the other sons that Abraham had, most people don't know.
No, the 99% don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. They're on the supremacy aspect of the lineage, and I'm
Right.
just simply saying I look at both. I look at those completely equally on Abraham here, and here are his sons. That's the way I look at it. So I don't understand how you can really push back on that, because I'm recognizing exactly what you're saying, and I understand that Isaac and Jacob was the first covenant for sure, and their chosen
They're
covenant
the
at
only
a time.
covenant.
Well,
Yeah,
because remember, God changed his mind. For example, with Saul. So when we see Saul, the
he
Muslims
didn't change his mind with
with
Saul.
Saul.
No, he told them he was going to give them a man after their heart, and that he would have a king after his own heart. He told them that.
He gave him an order. He disobeyed the order, and then he
No.
took it.
That's not what I'm saying. Before, when they asked for a king,
Oh, I see what you mean. I
right?
see
When
what you
they
mean.
asked for a king, God told Samuel, "Don't be mad at them, because it's really about me." So he gave them a king after their heart, and then he said, "I'll give a king after my heart." That's what he said.
What is your opinion of the modern day country of Israel?
It don't belong to neither one of them. There'll be war there till the nukes come. Until
Neither one meaning Palestinians or
yeah, that land don't belong to neither one of them. There's portions of the Middle East that does belong to the Ishmaelites, but the land of Israel does not belong to either one of them.
okay.
That's
But
my
here's the
position.
thing. Here's the thing, though. Like, if we're talking about when you say like so-called Jews, there's no way that every single European Jew that is not a Jew. You're saying because we're putting them in a category. How could possibly, because they all track. They have track. You're saying it's all made up, all of it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So all the modern day Jews, if we say there's 16 million Jews on earth, that's what they say, right? Although I think that number is cut in half. There's no way there's only 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's 16. You're saying all of them are not Jews, none of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
none of them.
how could that be?
Just like all of us are called black, right? So black people are called black because we were taken from a land, brought to another land, and was told that this is who we are. So
Okay.
when a Jewish man converted in about 600 something AD to Judaism, so you take, now we're in 2025, right?
Yeah.
So if you go with the 20s, you talk about 1400 years of believing that you're this people. And so that's why they believe that they're that people.
But then what about like Jews in Yemen
When I
and
went to
Morocco?
Israel, for example, right? I'm gonna see if I can pull
I'm
this up.
surprised they let you in because
You know what's funny, man? When I went there, right?
you're
It's funny
like,
that you say that. So when I went to Israel, so I go there, and so I'm going through the security or whatever. So you got to give your passport and everything. And so when I went there, they actually held me
yeah, of course.
like I was a whole. So I'm sitting in there, for like maybe 2 hours or something like that. And I finally asked him, I said, why can't, like, what's the holdup? What's the reason? So my middle name is Rashawn.
Uh-huh.
And so they asked me, they said, Rashawn, where did you get this name from? I said, I don't know. My uncle named me Rashawn. So I don't know if they thought I was a Muslim, but they didn't look at me like an Israelite, but I did think they thought I was a Muslim.
Were you
And
wearing
so
the
they
Star of
actually held
David
me.
and you were
Mhm.
wearing were
No,
you
I went like I
naked,
went
like a
like Clark Kent.
pilgrimage?
I went like
Okay.
Clark. Oh, you saying why did I go?
No, I'm saying you
No, I
you
ain't have
weren't.
nothing on. I had
Oh,
like
okay.
regular shirt. I ain't had nothing. I ain't had no shield. I
Oh, they
ain't
thought
had
you were a
nothing.
Muslim 100%. The mystery is solved.
They probably saw the beard
Yeah, of
and was like,
course.
he got to be a Muslim or something like that. But no, I
They thought
wasn't
you were
none of that.
sheikh. They thought you were sheikh.
They thought I was something. But yeah, so when I went over there, I actually interviewed this brother that his people, they actually never left Israel. They were black people.
Yeah.
They never left Israel the whole time. They always stayed there. And the Jewish man had them in like the prison section of Israel. So there are people that look like me that are in Israel that never left Israel, but they
Of course.
don't acknowledge them as being Israel.
There are people after World War II, when they had the Balfour Declaration was
Right.
enacted, and they moved everyone to the side and brought in the Europeans. They moved everybody. They moved all the Jews, all the Muslims, and the Christians. They moved everybody out of sections of Palestine this way and moved everyone there.
Right.
They didn't let the Israeli Jews back in for like something like 20 some years back into this. They were with everybody. So anyone who was already there, which obviously were a darker complexion, they were all moved out to the side. My question is, like, you got Moroccan Jews that have a track record. They never even left past Morocco, and they've been there thousands and thousands of years, as well as Yemen and stuff. Those, you're saying they're not Jews either, or are we talking about Europeans? Who are we talking about?
Yeah, just because you live in the land don't mean you're the people. Elon Musk is South African. Let that sizzle
Yeah,
in your spirit.
he's not. Yes, but so you're saying
Yeah,
he's not African.
Charlize Theron is African.
So you're saying they're not. You're saying they're not.
They're
Yeah, you're
not the
saying.
ethnic people just because they live there.
Yeah, but those. Yeah, but okay. Moroccan.
Chinese people are still Chinese no matter where they are, even if they're called American.
Yeah, but the Jews would say they're Jews no matter where they are too. That's the entire
That's because of
argument.
conversion. You take 1,000, 1,400, 1,500 years of living as a people, those children will believe that they're those people.
But
When
your
we as
argument,
black
your
people,
main
all right, we
your main argument, regardless, is the fact that they don't track patriarchal lineage anyway. Your main
yeah,
argument from the beginning is from the
yeah,
start is it doesn't even matter if you have.
yeah.
You're saying
A
period.
XY chromosome or XX chromosome could never make an ethnicity of people.
Got it.
Yeah, the Y chromosome dominates. If
So
their methodology of being an Israelite doesn't even match what God said on what the Bible says makes you an Israelite. Let that sizzle in your spirit.
well, it's not gonna burn too hard because I don't have much.
Right, you
I'm not.
Elam, like you're Elamite, so you
Well,
good.
you've called me a lot of shit in this conversation. You've called me a lot of shit in this conversation, man. I don't even know what the fuck.
But
And
I ain't
Elon,
say nothing disrespectful. I ain't,
no, 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 no.
and
Of course not.
it's been a good conversation. What other questions you got? Like how long we going?
Hold on, Elam. Yeah, bro. Those are Persians and shit, man. No, go more. You have to go more east. You have to go more. Hey, Elam's
They
a
ain't
nice.
just Persians. They all kind of shit.
They look like they got a good history, but I don't. It's Iraq. Those are Arabs, man.
He
I don't
said
have
they look
that.
like. He
I don't
said
have. I
they
don't
look
have that,
like
bro.
they got a good history.
They got a good history and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Mm-hmm.
those are Arabs, man. Those are Arabs. I have zero Arab DNA. Or
Elamites are not Arabs.
it's Arabia.
No, Elamites are like the Persians and stuff like that.
No, between Canaan, South Canaan, and in Persia, you have Iraq.
Now, Elamites are different though. They're a different race of people than
Huh.
Ishmaelites. Elam
No.
existed. I believe Elam existed before Ishmael. Let me look.
Yeah,
Let me
of
see.
course they did. No, those are segments of Canaan.
Yeah, no. They're not from Canaan. They from Shem.
No, no, the land of Canaan, the
Right.
land of Canaan was the whole province.
Yeah,
Just like how you say
Elam. You can find
Mesopotamia.
Elam in Genesis 10 and 22. He come from Shem. Like the Assyrians come from Shem.
Oh, the descendants of Elam,
Right.
not
That's
just the
what I'm
land.
saying.
Got
You
it,
come
got it.
from
I
the
was thinking of the
descendants.
land mass.
No, not landmass. I'm talking
Okay,
about the descendants of them.
maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't. I'm,
At least you ain't a white man. White man, he gonna be eradicated. He gonna die.
well,
The earth
you,
would be better with white people gone.
can you imagine how this conversation looks?
I don't know. I'm gonna look at. Listen,
people
make
are
sure you send me
people
the
are
link because I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
watch
check
the
these. I'm
video
gonna
on
check
their
these
channel.
comments. People are gonna have me defending because I've defended everyone. I've
Hey,
defended
put the
Ashkenazis.
link to the link to the channel in the comments.
I hope
Or
so.
can you put the links? Because I want to look at I want to see what they got to say. Because
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I'll put the links to
Oh,
everything,
that's
and
right.
then
That's right. I forgot you record for it. That's right. I
oh,
forgot.
we're recording everything. This is gonna be a good one. People are
Right.
gonna. I've defended everything. I've defended. I've straw manned
Yeah, I'm glad
Ashkenazi
you said. You
Jews.
see what he said to my audience? I've straw man. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to showcase your. I want to showcase your positions and intellect and wisdom on stuff. How else am I? How am I going to argue? How am I going to push back on Ashkenazi superiority? Right. I have to ask these
Right.
questions so you can showcase your history and your perspective of it.
Perfect.
Otherwise, I'm
And you
gonna.
did an excellent job.
Otherwise, I'm gonna
See,
get
like,
sit here and just argue about being Pashtun all day
nah, you're
for
right.
2 hours.
And you know what, and I always tell people this: like when you're doing an interview, um, it's an interview. Like if we
Yeah,
was debating, it would probably be different. We'd be going at each other. So
sure.
even as we're disagreeing, it's still an interview, and I think that's what people sometimes don't realize when they watching. They be wanting you to attack me or me to attack you, but it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the stage that we set forth. It's
No,
really
even in my message, my entire premise was to have a
right.
conversation with you and showcase
Exactly.
your thought process, worldview, and talk about ancient history
Mm-hmm.
that's approved and not approved, right?
Right.
That's the entire premise of this conversation. And then I have like all these different conversations, and then we're gonna start putting people together. Now, those
Right.
are probably gonna get super heated, but even at the end of the day, I'm gonna be calling people out on bullshit because I have a
Right.
very wide range understanding of history, of all the books and all the perspectives, and I'm kind of neutral on the situation. At the end of the day, I haven't even shared my actual spiritual religious perspective yet. It's definitely not any one of these collective, individualized. I'm not going to go to war for the five books, the Quran, nor the any of that stuff that but I am ready to
Mm-hmm.
go to war for sure, just not for that stuff, not for anything that can be written. To me, the Most High God Almighty is an ever evolving singular creation. In the beginning there was a word, and in my worldview that word is still being spoken, and we're sitting there trying to pause history and argue about certain things and argue about shit we really don't know. Now for you,
The
you would say
beautiful thing about no,
you
okay.
would say because of the Bible, and I respect that,
Right.
because that
Right.
is like carved in stone. But
Right. Right.
you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And I've never heard you been able to actually have that conversation, because as soon as you say like one thing, then someone else jumps in and talks about
Right. And
what Peter
you've
said.
definitely given me the freedom to, if I chime in on something, I chime in. And I'm glad you said, see, like a lot of people are religious. I'm not religious. I just
Mm.
believe in the Bible. And so in believing in the Bible, I believe in everything in that Bible from Genesis to Revelations. What's written in there was written for our learning, and that's what we go by. Where some people are going to accept things in the Bible, but then at some point they're either going to change or they're going to say, no, I don't agree to that.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. If them babies got to die, them babies got to die. The babies got to live, they got to live. If we got to die, we got to die. We got to get whatever's in that Bible is what has to happen, is what it is. Period.
In something I heard you, I don't remember if it was you or somebody else, but they said that God is racist. Was that a joke, or was that
Yeah,
more of
no,
like
God is a racist.
because he chooses one over another, like chosen people?
Yes.
And so God is, yeah. So that's the funny part when they say like God, I am a man, like
Meaning, like,
the
so
Lord of
like what
War.
people think is that God loves everybody on the planet equally. That's what they push. That's what Christians push, which is real weird when you think about it, because if God treated everybody equally, then we would have never been enslaved. So the same people that enslaved us telling us God loves everybody equally, that don't make sense.
Well, they would say that man don't treat everyone equally, but in God's eyes, everyone's all
But they
children.
did it in man's name. I'm screaming in God's name.
Yeah.
Like they gave us this religion and said, look, the Bible say slaves be obedient to your masters.
Yeah, there's gay rabbis.
Right. So what we do is we
There's
come
gay
out and
imams.
say,
I mean, gay preachers right now.
true that. And now the importance of us teaching that God loves a people and hates another people is for us to understand, if we're those people, to get them to stop hating us for disrespecting and disobeying him. So if God chose the children of Israel and gave their laws to the children of Israel, and we're getting punished because we're not keeping his law, then if we keep his law, we stop being punished. That's why we teach that.
Yeah.
The racist aspect, we have to fight the racist aspect not as an offensive mechanism, but as a defensive mechanism. Black people can't even be racist by definition. We can't overthrow a people. We can't oppress a people. We can't do nothing to a race of people because we don't have the power to do so. White
Did in the
people have
past
the
though.
power.
Yeah,
You said
did,
what?
but what did in the past, for example, like the earliest from my understanding of history, like some of the earliest slave traders were the Vikings, right? They came in from Scandinavia, they went south, and they went into what's like modern day like Ukraine and Poland and Ukraine, and that's what Slavs were from the slaves. And they were trafficking these Slavic tribes and bringing them up and making them white slaves. African people were selling African people to these fucking Europeans also. Like the problem is like it's something inside of all of us where I don't know, there's this sick thing inside of humans. Like I like to think back, like in my book I have this poem called Question Everything. It's like
Mhm.
think back to a time where there was no back in time. Think
Everybody
back.
makes that question everything.
Well, we should not. People don't question everything. That's why people believe Fauci was you know,
Fauci,
a
that's the
prophet.
devil that lost to Trump's protection, right?
Fauci is a false prophet that people thought his word was gospel. Yeah, during the pandemic, 100%. Yeah, I don't buy into any of that shit. But what I'm saying is like think back to a time where there was no back in time, where there were no morals written in books. Like, what would you believe? I like to think back to like imagine if you and I were like born in Rome, right? And
Mhm.
imagine not even in the wealthy class. Just imagine if we were in the semi-middle class, we'd have slaves. And the idea in my mind of like trying to
But
say,
it wouldn't
okay,
be like American slavery. It's different.
it's all been different, but the point is still the idea of having another human that is subordinate and subservient and not as human as you or your
Slavery. So
family.
in
It's crazy
outside
to
of
me.
outside of war, right? When you went to war, there was that type of slavery where you would be taken by force. But
Yes,
slavery could be something as simple as you're just in debt to somebody, you pay off the debt, but you're not getting hung and lynched and your identity taken after you pay off the debt. You go back to what you're doing.
that's true. Like
Slavery in
indentured
America,
servitude.
yeah, slavery in America, or chattel slavery is a better term to use. That's something where they not only enslaved me, they made sure my children followed generationally in that same slavery.
Completely.
You know what I mean? They took identity
100%.
away, took reading away, took the essence of being who we were away, which is what
Yeah.
makes slavery in America far different than
Names away.
right. Took
Everything.
everything away. Like
Yeah.
I said, my last name is Gas. I'm not a German, but I got
Yeah.
a German last name because of slavery.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
all these last names, even like them Spanish last names, Lopez's, Garcia, and all that, those ain't Spanish, those ain't
No.
Latino last names. Those is Jewish
Yeah.
last names.
I'll tell you something interesting, Cap. I spent about 3 years living in the Amazon. I was in Iowa Scout for like over 12 years. And when you go deep into the Amazon, I'm talking about where there's no cell phone reception. I'm talking about in the tribal areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I speak Spanish. They don't give a shit if you speak Spanish. They call that the language of the conquistador. They call Spanish Castellano. You're a European to them. So if these people come in thinking that they speak Spanish, they speak indigenous languages like Kokama. They speak
Mm-hmm.
Shipibo. They speak indigenous languages. Like they look at anyone who come in speaking Spanish as a European conquistador. Like they don't even recognize people are coming in, saying that, oh, I'm from Peru and speaking Spanish. They look at you like a European conquistador, So the 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 indigenous like history is still kind of alive in certain places and then not in others, right? The difference is that all this has to do, in my opinion, you can blame in essence like the Roman Catholic Church for a lot of this stuff, because when someone calls himself like Latin, it's like, I'm a Latino. It's like, oh, you're Roman, like how are you a Latino? There's
Right,
nothing
and that
Latin.
goes back to, so like in
There's nothing Latin
Deuteronomy,
about you except the Latin Bible that your soul was colonized with.
yeah, like in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and I think it's about the 37th or 43rd verse, it talks about us being called a proverb and a byword. So you kind of making my point, like being stripped of our identity, like our Latino brothers and sisters were stripped of their identity. So they think that they're Latin, or they think that they're Hispanic, or they think that they're Spanish,
Yeah.
or they think that they're all these things, not understanding, like you said, the conquistadors, Columbus, and all of them came over here and took that identity away.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
they are that way.
And I only noticed that, especially since like the history of Afghanistan through English over the like 1900s, when the British basically has tried to take it, didn't, and then started rewriting the history in English. And
Mm-hmm.
the world speaks English now. But if we were, 1,000 years ago, maybe the world speaking Latin, right? And
Right.
so it's like I see the exact thing. And of course, we didn't actually like get conquered and bred out and shipped all around the world, of course. But I can see how quickly that can happen. So the question is, knowing that this happened, knowing this history, and etc., what's the actual solution? We can't say that every single person that's like Latin, every single person that was you know was part of an indigenous tribe in Chile, and then all of a sudden gets bred out by
Yeah,
someone
we
from
don't. Yeah, okay,
Spain.
I get what you're saying. So say when we say that same with the same question you ask goes
Yeah,
for black people, goes for everybody. We don't
yeah,
say every Latino is one of us. We don't say every, like I always use this example, like Bob Marley is not one of us. That's a white man. Because Bob Marley has a white
Uh,
father. He has a
okay, so you
Jamaican.
go exactly in my worldview of patriarchal period, the
Yeah,
patriarchal
so
lineage
like
period.
Bob
Oh,
Marley is, yeah,
that's how I think.
yeah, so Bob Marley is a white man, right? Cameron Diaz is Latin. She's not white.
Got it.
You understand?
Yeah,
Who
I
else?
fully.
Blake Griffin has a
Barack
white mother,
Obama's
but he has a
black.
Haitian. You say what?
Barack Obama's black.
Barack Obama is African.
African. Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah,
Hamite. Yeah, he ain't
yeah,
our people either. He is not
yeah,
black. So that's what we go by. Where in the world, that's why earlier I said Drake is looked at as Jewish because of his mother, even though he has a black father.
yeah,
In the world, they look at Bob Marley as black because of his skin tone. In the world, they look at Cameron Diaz as white because of her complexion. We don't go by your skin tone. We go by who your father is.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's history also. So,
Mm-hmm.
what's the overall message? What's the game? What's the master plan?
Oh, the overall
What's
message is for us to wake up the 12 lost tribes of the children of Israel in the four corners of the earth. Wake them up to who their identity is. Watch these prophecies get played out. Watch the destruction of America. And as they're getting destroyed, we build our kingdom. That's the message.
and America gets destroyed like Rome from within.
Yes. No,
Like all.
not just within, they're gonna get bombed to shit. Like when in Peter's, when it says the elements shall melt with fire, America is gonna burn. That lake of fire in Revelations, that's America burning. You got a snippet of that when you saw California burning.
Yeah,
When you saw it from above, it looked like a lake of fire in
yeah, it did.
California.
Yeah, it did.
That now expand that. That's going to be America burning.
But what part of America are you in? Jersey? We're both
I'm
in.
in Jersey.
Okay, I'm in Miami, so we better gonna have a problem.
Yeah, better get on a boat.
You better get on a boat too. We both. I'm not getting on a boat.
Lord allow,
Boat.
I get on a chariot. I ain't got to get on a boat. Lord allow, I get on a chariot. I ain't got to get on a boat. So,
And
because
then
that, mm-hmm.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because that's what we believe from our position in First Thessalonians when it talks about us being caught up with the Most High or caught up with Christ. As America is getting destroyed, those of us of Israel will be saved from that destruction. We won't get destroyed with them.
Spiritually, like the
No,
soul. I
fit
mean,
literally.
physically.
Yeah, physically.
So
Mhm.
how does so I guess one last thing, like how does Jesus tie into that? Like because the Jews would say, for example, that Jesus like you can look at like the from the translation from Hebrew to Greek, like the word for young woman to the virgin. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of these different variations that the foundations of Jesus fulfilling prophecies were created through the Septuagint, but they're not
Right.
actually the same words in the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah.
Jews will
So you know
say,
what's funny about virgin, right?
uh,
So when they do virgin, they quoting Isaiah 7:14. Behold, a virgin shall be with child.
yeah, Alma.
Right. What people, I don't think most people understand. So that's what we call a similitude because Isaiah's wife had a child. And so in Isaiah 7:14, you see that child be born in Isaiah, the 8th chapter. The very next chapter, you see that child be born, you see that child be called Emmanuel. So Christ is a similitude to that. What people don't know is that that's Isaiah's second child with that woman that's being called a virgin
Mm,
because he has a first child in verse 3 in that same chapter. So now the second child is with Isaiah 7:14. So, and I'm saying that because you're right. When they look up the word Alma in Hebrew, that's young woman.
yeah,
But when you
young
get to the New
lady. Yeah.
Testament, they try to apply the Greek or Roman definition of that word instead of the Hebrew definition because these are Hebrew people speaking.
No, they use the actual Greek word for virgin. There's
That's what
no,
I'm saying. I said the Roman
yeah,
Greek word, right?
yeah, yeah,
Instead of
yeah,
the Hebrew,
yeah,
right? Instead of the Hebrew word. So
yeah.
if they're quoting, because what they won't, and I always wondered why, if Matthew is quoting the scripture from Isaiah, you would have to use the same definition of the word from Isaiah because he's
Yeah.
quoting Isaiah. You can't
Yes.
use the modern word. So a woman is a virgin. A woman is a young woman, whether she's having sex or not. At some point, and let's say if she stopped having sex, if she's 40 and she's not having sex, you're not calling her virgin.
Never. Exactly my point.
Yeah, you saying, hey girl, you need to get you some before you get die. So I don't know. Like you're saying something, but you're not calling a 40-year-old a virgin. You're not
No.
calling that.
No, no, no. No.
Yeah, so
And then
that's what we say.
the Jewish people would say, the Christians would say, they would say Isaiah 53, the suffering servant, and the Jews would say
Mhm.
Isaiah 42 to 53 is Israel's the suffering servant. Now, whether you say Jacob as Israel's the suffering servant or Israel, the nation itself, right? I mean, how to,
Yeah. So depending on which chapter, Isaiah 53 is about Christ specifically, but there's some chapters in Isaiah that's talking about Israel, period.
yeah, but Isaiah 42 all the way to 53 is talking about Jacob and then Jacob as Israel as the suffering servant.
When you get to Isaiah 53, when it says he shall offer his in Isaiah 53, when you get to verse um 10, when it says, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him, he had put him to grief, when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. That's how
Yeah.
you know it's not talking about a nation, it's talking about an individual.
Okay. I understand that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about like the fulfillments of the prophecies of the Messiah, like the peace on earth and all that other stuff?
When
That's
Christ
supposed to.
came and died, so in Acts 3 and 18, I think it's Acts verse 18. In Acts 3 and 18, it says, but those things which God had before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets that Christ should die and suffer, that Christ should suffer, he had fulfilled. So when Christ came in that life, he fulfilled that portion to earn the right for all the other things that it says about Christ. So
Mm,
once he died and resurrected, now he get the keys to hell and death. Now he gets to come, and when he returns, he gets to rule the planet Earth. So all the other things in Isaiah that has not taken place yet now get to take place because of Christ.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so you accept Jesus as prophet and as the Messiah who will
And king,
return,
right?
king of the
King of Israel. I would
of
say king of
Hebrew,
Israel.
of
Mm-hmm.
Israel. Okay,
Right.
the king
Mm-hmm.
of Israel, which includes all the tribes,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
bloodlines, the right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
but
correct.
not okay. So got it. Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Well, your scripture.
I do know my scriptures.
I
Thank
love it.
the Listen. That's all the Lord. That is not me. That
Uh,
is all the Most High.
yeah, this is soul. This is soul's desire. When I feel like when
Well,
the
a lot of
soul
people
has a
read the
pure
Bible.
desire.
Yeah, a lot of people read the Bible. It's up to the Most High to whom he gives understanding of that Bible.
Amen to that, for sure.
So be
Yeah,
it.
that makes a lot of sense. The problem is a lot of people are reading things to try to prove a point and disprove another point. They miss the whole point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll take one scripture here, not get the context of the scripture. Even when they talk about Christ not being the son of Joseph, when Matthew, the first chapter, is about the genealogy of Jesus, which comes through Joseph.
Yeah.
So how can he have the genealogy unless he comes through Joseph physically? Makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So, Captain, to
Mhm.
confirm, we had a good conversation, right?
Definitely. It was
Okay.
actually good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Mhm.
And look that up, Pashtun.
Pashtun.
Yeah,
Make sure you text that to me on
I
Instagram.
will.
I'm
I
gonna look.
will.
Some of the brothers on here was looking it up, and we can't find out. We can't determine if you Arab or Elam. We gonna.
Man,
Or it
I
also
can't.
brought up. It also brought
We're
up
not
King
Arab.
Saul. It also
Yeah.
brought up King Saul. So I'm gonna be
Malak
honest.
Talut. Malak
But
Talut is King Saul. King Saul's British words. Malak Talut.
so yeah, so I'm definitely gonna look into it and see
Yeah.
what's up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the next time we get on, you're going to be calling me your Hebrew Israelite brother. And you're gonna be very happy with how I handle all that Ishmaelite Elam shit you call me. You're gonna be like, wow, he didn't. No, look at it. But let me ask you, Cap. You ready for the debate part, right? We're gonna get the debate going. We're gonna get
Yeah. Is
we're
that
gonna get
about to
rap.
take place now or?
No, not right now. Not
Oh,
right
okay,
now.
okay.
Not right now. We had this one-on-one conversation. We established some rapport. We get to share your worldview without being interrupted with emotional people who don't know what they're talking about, who just kind of get all upset because you said something, and they just start, defending with appeals to emotion. We got to establish your worldview, your perspective, your beliefs, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have a few other people. We have two rabbis. We've got three different variations of Christian apologists, including Orthodox and so on. We've got two imams. We've got some atheist philosophers. And we have a couple of these like philosopher debate lords also
Mm-hmm.
that like to argue that there's no such thing as God. So it's
Yeah,
going to
well
be,
listen, let me tell you
y-
something.
you're ready.
Whenever you want to debate, you just give me the subject. Just know that here's what I always tell people, right? Right
Yes.
now we having this interview. Interview's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Thank you.
When the debate comes on, though, you
It's
get
on.
bapped in. Yeah, you get a whole
Well,
different
we're not.
character.
I mean, it's not about you and me debating, and we can debate something if you
No,
want.
whoever
But
I'm
no,
debating.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
because I'm
hoping for.
trying to absolutely kill you.
Yeah, take the head
Right.
off.
Yes. Yes.
100, yeah, sever the head and
Yes.
show it to the audience.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hold it up like this your king, like that.
Yeah, yeah. The difference, Gladiator 1, not Gladiator 2.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gladiator 2 sucked. I mean,
Gladiator 2 soft.
listen, Gladiator 2, they had water in the Coliseum.
They did that in real life though.
How did
Look
they
that
get
up.
water in
I
the
Roman engineering, brother. I
No,
looked that
I'm
up.
about
They
to
did that
Google
in
this
real
shit.
life. Yeah,
Nah,
they had.
when I Googled it, and when I Googled it before, they said that was bull. Oh,
No,
wait,
they
wait.
did.
It
They
said
did it one
Roman once
time.
filled the Coliseum with
One
water.
time.
It says that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did that one time, and they actually had sharks in that mother.
Oh, damn, I
Yeah,
stand
they did it one
corrected.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to
yeah.
stand corrected then. I'm gonna have to stand corrected.
That's not a
I
way. That's
stand
not a
corrected.
good way to end the debate. I'm just joking. This is no. The debate's going to be the goal. My goal is to actually have free thought unchained, right? To let things loose, but to have free thought, etc. But to actually have people who know what they're talking about, right? To
Mm-hmm.
actually have people know what they're talking about, right? People can get all heated and so on, but the concept is going to, of course, be on religion, theology, and so on. But I'm not going to be bringing some fools on here to argue with, right? And we can't be winning debates off just appeals to emotions or someone uses a syllable and then they're wrong. We're talking about like high level, deep, conversations that are going to be taking place.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like this is definitely a great introduction. And
yes.
where we go from here, I think I'm looking forward to it. So, whatever you got, I'm down with it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
All right,
you.
no problem. No
Okay, thank
sweat.
you so much. Thank you.
Take
Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Definitely take care.
Free thought unchained. I'll send
Yep.
you everything.
All right. Thanks. All right.